Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast, live on a Friday. I am a pre-coffee Chris Gore. How are you doing this morning? I'm going to need a lot more of this. I can just tell you that right now. So much to discuss today. We'll be reviewing The Lost City. We'll also be reviewing Everything Everywhere All at Once, talking about some indie films. We've got interviews with two independent filmmakers later on in the show, documentary filmmakers. So if you want to talk filmmaking, they are here and at your disposal. And I want to talk about a couple things just because, I don't know, they kind of popped up in my feed. And I want to talk about the Star Trek The Motion Picture 4K restoration of the director's edition and this Joker deleted scene that came out yesterday. Let's talk about it. So much to discuss. Let's get things started as I find our intro video, and I just found it, and here it's going to... Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore, and I am joined, as always, by my colleague, Alan, the editor-in-chief of Film Threat. Alan, how you doing today?
Good morning. Yeah, it's morning.
Yeah, it's morning, all right.
For once I didn't see a movie last night, so I'm well rested.
Crazy. That's not normal for you.
I know it was going to be Jujutsu Kaisen, but decided to wait till the weekend to see it.
Well, we have a lot to get to. I want to talk about this morning right off the top. I am a huge fan of the movie Star Trek: The Motion Picture. That movie, when I was a huge Star Trek fan growing up, I watched it in reruns when I was a kid. Of course, as everybody did, Star Trek was on every day. It was amazing. It's how I bonded with my dad. He loved Star Trek. Star Trek was a gateway to conversations about many things in the world, and I loved it. James T. Kirk is my captain. A manly man, kind of man you probably don't see in a lot of things these days, unfortunately. But I love that show. I love the original Star Trek. And what was interesting was, at the time, being around when that movie first came out, Star Wars was a surprise. Nobody knew Star Wars was coming. They did very little publicity for it. There's like old pictures of like Mark Hamill at like a San Diego Comic-Con booth, and it's literally a table that with a little book that says the Star Wars, where they had like production paintings and photos. Star Trek: The Motion Picture we knew was coming because we'd already had like all of the, we'd watched the original series of Star Trek, right? I read Starlog magazine, and for years, basically, the whole purpose of that magazine was just to talk about the new Star Trek movie. I mean, that was just every issue of Starlog magazine was, this is what's new. And originally, Star Trek: The Motion Picture was going to be a new television series called Star Trek Phase 2. You can see a lot of videos about that. You can read about that. But Star Trek: The Motion Picture famously was rushed. Robert Wise didn't even really, who the director of the movie, who also directed West Side Story, which you probably know. They rushed it. They rushed to get it done. They were like, the title sequence was done at the last minute. The famous story was they had to make a deadline for this premiere, which I believe was in Washington, D.C., and they rushed it. The movie was never finished the way he would have liked. So years later, they revisited it, as they do with all these special editions, and they did a version of it, Star Trek: The Motion Picture, the director's edition, which a friend of mine, Darren Doctorman, worked on. He worked on a lot of the special effects. Hopefully we can get Darren to be a guest on the show at some point, but they never finished it in 4K. I have a used copy of the DVD in standard def DVD. This is the one thing that is, I have to now subscribe to Paramount Plus just to watch the 4K restoration of the director's edition. The trailer just dropped. So
when's it coming out?
April 5th. It comes out April 5th, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. So
did you hear my Star Trek story on Friday?
I don't remember.
No, just real quick. In elementary school, I was best friends with my neighbor, and one day he just says, "Oh, my dad wrote a Star Trek movie, and I'm going to the set tomorrow."
Yes.
And And I didn't believe him at all until he comes back with pictures of him with Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner. So yeah, my friend's dad co-wrote the Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Wow.
And yeah, and then when I it's funny because where the space program was at that point, it was Voyager. We didn't even have a space shuttle at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a weird kind of historical look at what life was like in the early 70s or the mid 70s.
Well, they did name one of the space shuttles Enterprise.
It was the test shuttle, basically.
Yeah.
The one that never went to space.
Right.
That was the Enterprise.
Gosh. Well,
Yeah,
anyways, I just had to mention that it's coming April 5th. I cannot wait. I know there's all this like the Halo TV show and there's Picard and all that. I don't care. The director's edition in 4K of Star Trek the Motion Picture is going, and that movie, I looked forward to that movie. It was all I thought about. I got the record soundtrack. It was just like, I'm seeing all these pictures of Kirk, Spock, McCoy, the new Enterprise, which had the refit, it just, I was obsessed with it. I was obsessed. And so I feel like I was a little disappointed when I first saw the movie. I mean, it was kind of slow. Now I've come to appreciate it and love it. It's like, it really aspired to be at least something like 2001: A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick's, classic, which is one of my all-time favorite films. So it aspired to, in ideas wise, at least be something like that. And I've poured over so much film history about like the making of it. We could do a whole show just on that. But I just want to off the top say, I think I might need to subscribe to Paramount Plus just to see that one. I'll subscribe for a month. I'll get like whatever the latest deal is, and then go from there. But yeah.
I got to interview Shatner about that time between the television series and the motion picture, and he basically said his acting career was pretty much done. He was doing community theater. He couldn't get a job after Star Trek, and he says that Star Trek the Motion Picture was the movie that relaunched his career, basically.
Wow. Let's go to some comments in the chat here. Gabriel, hey, good to see you, man. I actually really like the Enterprise flyby scene. There's something so soothing and majestic about it. Yeah, it's one of the things that, like, in the original series, when you would see the Enterprise, you never really knew what the scale was. Mm-hmm. There's actually a shot from the pilot that's really cheesy. It's really bad, but they just kind of zoom into the saucer section at the top, and you can see the people working. It's like an overhead view of the deck. And it's really, I mean, in retrospect, it's really cheesy, but it doesn't really give you the scale. I mean, it's so great that flyby scene, everyone's like, oh, it's boring. No, you get like, it's, the Enterprise is a character in the show, like Gotham City is a character in a Batman film. It's a setting. It has life. So there you go. Let's go to some more comments here before we move on to our next topic. Let's see. Toxic Waltz N8 is back. I'm subscribed to Paramount Plus because of my nephews and Nick Jr. Otherwise, it's a pretty weak service, and I'm anticipating being underwhelmed by Halo. Well, Halo, like I said, I saw the first 2 episodes. I give it like a C-, but I'm still interested to see what happens.
Yeah, but Jackass Forever is now on Paramount Plus.
Well, there you go. If that's a reason.
Another reason.
Geek Truth 64 is back, just joining, taking a break from editing my Picard review. Oh, well, drop that in the chat, Geek Truth 64. I'll check it out. Spoiler: worst episode of New Trek I've seen. I felt terrible after watching it. I have only heard people who I trust, like Robert Meyer Burnett. When it comes to Star Trek, I trust my friend Robert RMB. Subscribe to his channel. Just look up RMB, Robert Meyer Burnett. I'm sure you already subscribed to him. He has way more subscribers than us. He doesn't need our help. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever the new Trek is, it just didn't grab me. It doesn't feel like Star Trek. It feels like a different thing. And it's mainly because I believe that the values that were consistent through almost all of the older Trek shows, the values seemed consistent. Prime Directive, all that stuff. Things got a little messy in a good way with Deep Space Nine, where we had received like greater glimpses into other cultures throughout the galaxy. And I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. So
my fear is that they've ruined Q. I've not watched it.
That's what I keep hearing. Infinite Main.
I mean, Q is the greatest character in the Next Generation, and
Well,
my
yeah.
fear is they're just not treating it right, and I'm kind of afraid to get into it now.
Yeah. Infinite Main says, my condolences to those watching new Trek. I hear you. And then Gabriel's back and says, are they just trying to make it worse and worse at this point? It was already terrible enough when Discovery came out. Lee Kindler says, Star Trek The Motion Picture has some really good stuff in it. Imagine what it could have been with the proper amount of production time put into it. It's weird, like, and this is something that John Carpenter has complained about in modern Hollywood, which Francis Ford Coppola refers to as factory filmmaking. You know, there's a release date before the script is finished. And it used to be, this is what John Carpenter said, and back in the era of the 70s, right? They would shoot a movie, they would start to edit it, they would keep editing it and working on it. They would step away from it, then they go back to editing it and working on it. And they'd maybe even shoot a couple insert or different things. Famously, George Lucas, you know, most of the cantina scene was shot, you know, much later, right? And it was George Lucas begging for money because the cantina scene, as it was originally done, he was not satisfied with. He got the extra money and was able to make that scene bigger. But it, you know, this is the problem with modern Hollywood. And Star Trek The Motion Picture was a victim of that. I think it had to open on December 6th or December 7th, 1979. And I was there, man, first night. And I remember being disappointed by the title sequence because it was just the words. I mean, the music is spectacular, but it's just the words, Star Trek The Motion Picture, ba 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 ba. And I remember, because that was the era where you had the Star Wars opening crawl and how epic the opening title sequence was. Superman, right? Superman had that great title sequence. And I remember right off the bat thinking like, wow, this title sequence is not awesome. And we've come to expect that from big genre movies. So, but whatever.
See, that's the thing is even when Star Trek came out, there was no such thing as the big genre movie. You know, we had Star Wars, we had, you know, so I think what was presented in Star Trek was a major upgrade from the television series, and at that time in history of cinematic history, you know, to me it was still pretty amazing to see such a large scale enterprise.
Right. Some more comments here. Hannibal Grimm, I won't watch until they get the wars out of the Trek. Yeah, it seems way more. I mean, it used to be that like Kirk and Picard, it was sort of outwitting. They were trying to undo a situation, right? They wanted to de-escalate. They wanted to, they were working toward a result that would not be the deaths of millions of people, right? Like, and I feel the new Trek, from what I've seen, is just incredibly violent. And I've even heard it described as cruel. You know, I'll watch like Robert Meyer Burnett talk about it, or Red Letter Media has done some great reviews. I'd rather like watch a review from, you know, Red Letter Media than I would actually want to watch the show. So
that's the sense I got from Discovery, was that it was violent. It was a little too bleak.
Right.
You know, it was missing kind of that hopeful tone that the Next Generation and the old series had. And I feel like that it's what they're doing to our old properties is they're correcting the political incorrectness. You know, the fact that Roddenberry didn't have a gay character, so we got to make Sulu gay.
Speaking of that, anyone care to guess how many episodes until they make the new Captain Kirk gay or have a bisexual experience? We know that this is coming. There has been Star Trek fanfic. We did an article about it in Film Threat print magazine in the 90s. We did a story about Kirk and Spock homoerotic fanfic. That has been a thing forever. And you know that just based on what the new Star Trek series is, that they're going to make Kirk gay. He's going to be gay or have a experience that could be construed as gay, like he has a sexual experience with an alien species, which would be on brand for Kirk, as long as like it's a hot green dancing alien woman. I like the way that Star Trek continues. Like handled Star Trek. If you've never heard of this series, you should go check it out. All the episodes are up on Vimeo and on YouTube. Star Trek continues like as if they did a 4th and 5th season of Star Trek, and actually has an end to the series. It's great. Somebody
I don't think Kirk will come out as gay. I think he'll take the bold step and declare himself non-binary.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Ken Bogus says, Sulu, just to be clear, George Takei in real life is gay, and who gives a shit, and nobody cares. And the other thing is, look, he was out and gay to most everyone in the original series, and they didn't care. It's George Takei, whatever. George Takei even was upset that like they made his character gay, played by John Cho, in the new J.J. Abrams Star Trek, because he said that's not the character that Gene Roddenberry wrote. You know, Gene Roddenberry wrote these characters very specifically. Even George Takei was not in favor of that change. I'm just saying that based on what we've seen of the new Star Trek, I just think it's, you know, like, how many episodes are you going to guess until he comes out as like bi or something? It's going to happen. I mean, it's definitely coming. We could just do a whole episode just talking about Star Trek. But Alan, you saw a movie that I'm going to get to the banners here. I got a quick announcement. Award this t-shirt I'm wearing, and you can support Film Threat by buying something. Go to shop.filmthreat.com. Please support our work. This is, you can get yourself a Film Threat mug like I have here. We have all sorts of Film Threat t-shirts, including we have a Film Threat t-shirt that's based on the poster design for Star Trek: The Motion Picture. It's sort of it's in the Star Trek letters style, and it just says Film Threat. So pick that up for yourself and support our work. And of course, like, subscribe, share this video, subscribe to the channel if you've not already subscribed. And there you go, and follow us on all social media. We're just Film Threat on everything. Now, let's get to some quick news we have. Today is the big day. We do an event every year at Film Threat called Award This. In some ways, it's kind of a parody of an award show, because award shows are insufferable these days. But we like to have fun with our award show. And we award the best in independent film every year at an award ceremony and a party. This year, we're doing it on Saturday, May 21st at the Frida Cinema. You will be able to buy tickets when they go on sale. You get a gift bag. There are drinks. You get drink tickets for some adult beverages that you can have there, and you can rub elbows with all the independent filmmakers that are. Last year, we had a whole bunch of indie filmmakers. We did it at a drive-in. This year at the Frida Cinema, I think we've got about 400 seats. So about half of that is going to be the nominees and special guests. The other half, hey, you can join us for that party. And we award everything from best indie sci-fi, best indie horror, WTF, what the F is this movie, right? Which is like weird, like trauma stuff. So, and then we even award things like pop culture documentary. Well, we are announcing our nominees later tonight. We were going to be able to talk about it. We're not going to be able to talk about it because we just don't have time today, but we're going to talk about it on Sunday. This is another reminder. Sunday, we are doing a special Oscar show, mainly because the Oscars are horrible, and we are going to be live the entire time, live streaming. Join us in the chat. Keep Film Threat, like, you know, on your phone or iPad or whatever while you're watching the show. We're probably going to keep ourselves muted during the actual show, but we'll comment, right? We have to figure out some audio so it doesn't bleed. We don't want to get a copyright strike. But join us on Sunday. I think we're going to start about, when is the show? 5 p.m.?
5.
5. So we'll probably start about 4:30, and we'll talk about our Award This nominees. But I think that there's a better way to do an award show, and they're just not. First of all, invite Ricky Gervais to host. I'll reach out to him and see if he'll host our little award show. Why don't I just do that on social media? Wouldn't it be hilarious if Ricky Gervais decided to just come to Award This and just host it? But we've had
he'll totally do it.
We get comedians and indie filmmakers to give the awards, so it's a lot of fun. But we're going to be announcing our nominees later today on filmthreat.com and at awardthis.com. Additionally, we'll be talking about them on Sunday. We just don't have time today. It's a packed show. So there you go. But check that out. And Alan, let's get right to the reviews. Let's get right to the reviews. And I do want to talk about this deleted scene from the Batman that leaked. So don't.
Yeah, I wish I had seen it.
I've seen it.
Excited to hear about it.
That's okay.
I've read about it. Yeah.
Let's talk. Let's talk about this, Alan. You saw everything.
Yeah, did you know I saw it? I don't know if you knew that. I saw it on Wednesday.
We should remind people that, like, you saw it Wednesday at the LA premiere. You were there with the directors were there, the Daniels, and you basically live streamed right up until the intro of the movie. So check out, that's our last live stream video. But Alan, let's talk about the film.
Yeah, I really love this movie. It's a multiverse movie. And to me, I feel like they got it right. Movie stars Michelle Yeoh. She plays a laundromat owner, Evelyn, who is in big trouble. Her business is going down. She's being audited by the evil Deidre, who's played by Jamie Lee Curtis. She's about to lose her business, maybe go to jail. So she has to go to the IRS offices to kind of go over the audit of her books. And while going up the elevator, her husband, played by Ki-Hun Kwan, who was Short Round from Temple of Doom, they're in the elevator and he kind of snaps and becomes a different person. Actually, it's him, but from an alternate universe, from an alternate reality. And he tells her basically that the only way to save herself and the universe is to take her shoes off, put them on the wrong feet, and then he puts kind of these Bluetooth earphones in her head, and when she does that during the audit, she is kind of thrown into a weird place between two realities, and so basically she's told that the universe is unstable, out of control, basically due to this bad guy, and that she is the only person within all of the realities who can save the universe. And I gotta stop there because the movie just goes insane. And the fun of the movie now is watching how weird things get.
Well, I gotta interrupt you for a sec. The chat is asking how spoilery you're gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a flavor. I'll stop where I am now, but I'll just kind of give you a flavor of what goes on.
Yeah.
But I will say what I love about this movie, it is the story, the screenplay is super dense, meaning that everything in this movie, whether it be a side character, a throwaway joke, some gag, it all pays off. There's a reason why certain things are brought into camera in the beginning, and it pays off in the end. And it's okay. I'll just throw out there representation. It's a Chinese American family, immigrant family, shot in LA, which is where I was born and grew up. And so I will say the Chinese American aspect was very familiar to me. I mean, it was like, this is the thing when seeing, white movies and Asian movies. I understand white movies because I grew up in California and America all my life. But there's things about the Chinese American culture that is brought into this that is just like familiar. I may not have lived it perfectly, but or like this film, but I know this world. But at the same time, there's not a big deal made about it. They just happen to be a Chinese American family. Yeah, Ki-Hun Kwan, haven't seen him in decades on film. He's great. He has a big role. Jamie Lee Curtis, you see her like you've never seen her before. She gets a severe beatdown. James Hong, he doesn't make a cameo. James Hong plays a big role in this movie, and to just go to the breadth of his performance would be a spoiler in itself. So
don't stop there. Yeah. But there's people have questions in the chat. So
yeah, I will say though, it's 2 hours long and it feels 2 hours long.
Oh no, so, does it feel too long at 2 hours? Like
there's so much because I think what helps the movie is the craziness just carries you along.
Right.
But there's a moment in the middle of the movie where it feels like it's over, and it's a 2-hour movie, and at that point it's not over, so it's going to keep going.
All right. Well, let's go to some quick comments here. Spider Geronimo says, apart from the martial arts, does this feel more sci-fi or fantasy?
Yeah, it's definitely sci-fi. It's definitely sci-fi, and there are martial arts aspects to it. And I will say, and you're gonna love it.
Okay, Gabriel says,
if you look at the poster, there's a lot of weird stuff on that poster, and it's in the movie.
Oh wow, Gabriel says that doesn't sound like a bad premise. So I wish more movies were only 2 hours long. Gabriel goes on to say,
the Batman should have been 2 hours.
Wait, we are here as Chinese launderer. Isn't that problematic?
Yeah. Well, it's like it's either Chinese laundry or a restaurant, and the problem is my grandparents ran a restaurant. Well, a lot of people I knew worked in restaurants. It's like,
yeah,
what, you gonna deny us our culture, our heritage?
I know. It's just that that like a certain type of person is going to complain about that. It's usually someone who has no life experience. But we are here.
I mean, my other grandfather was a medicine man in San Francisco.
I mean,
so it's like, what am I supposed to do? It's like that's my past.
I don't know. It's just people overreact to stupid things these days because I think most people are idiots. Yeah. So
I mean,
by the way, not in the chat, just in the world.
Yeah, there's stereotypes, but that's my history too. So,
well, there you go. Cody Gidley says, "Film threat AF." All right, I love that.
Absolutely.
Cool. So, would you recommend Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yeah, I would. I mean, it's definitely high on my list. I gave it a 9. I liked it a lot. I after hearing what your friends thought about it, I'm like,
well, yeah, they weren't as high on it, but some comments here. Hannibal Grimm, hey man, Chinese laundry was a thing in the 80s and 90s. I saw cuffs. And Spider Geronimo, unfortunately, stereotypes exist for reasons. So you're not wrong. I mean, and Gabriel, the best quote of 2022, I think most people are idiots. Chris Gore. Now wait. To be clear, Gabriel, not in the chat, not watching this show. It's mostly social media, and I would say specifically Twitter. So there you go. And Hannibal Grimm. Wait, the chat's going too fast for me here. Hannibal Grimm, Alan, how about that bagel?
Yeah. How about that bagel?
Wait, all right, don't say anything.
Yeah, I can't. The bagel.
And Turo has, this is a theory now. Nancy Pelosi guest stars as the evil person causing the collapse of the multiverse when she goes to Chinatown and rubs her clenched hands together vigorously. You mean like this? Like this? What was she thinking? And then she sits down. It is the weirdest. The people that are in government, these elites that are running things, they're just regular people. And for the most part, they're morons. They're morons. I think that most politicians in particular are like celebrities with no discernible talent. At least a celebrity, right? You can say about like, whatever actor, they can act. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in that position. They can act, or you're a musician, you have a talent. What are the talents of politicians other than just doing what their donors tell them to? Based on the amount of money that they're given. Yes, and that's the political rant for today. That's all. Yeah. That's all you're going to get out of me. I don't want to.
It's just funny how it's like
here, but
it's like these things that were villainous a long time ago, and people and politicians just have zero self-awareness about what they're doing.
They're morons. They're morons, pandering. All they're trying to do is just divide people. That is sickening to me. It was a strategy that didn't work out for Ming the Merciless. He tried to divide the kingdoms of Mongo between the Hawkmen and the Lion Men and that's a weird. Flash Gordon does have a political subtext to it. Very fun adventure. But Flash Gordon, there is a little thing about like, hey, we're going to divide people by their immutable traits and make them fight amongst each other so they don't notice that I am ruling everything.
If you think about it,
Flash Gordon.
Yeah, if you think about it, if politicians actually solved the world's problems, why would we then need politicians?
Well, you are right. You are right about that. I want to move a quick topic before we move on to my review of The Lost City with Sandra Bullock. The Batman Joker deleted scene. Chat, did you see this scene? I believe it's on IGN's YouTube. You can just look up the Batman deleted scene. One, I have no idea why they released this now. The movie's still in theaters. The scene is reminiscent of some things we've seen in the comic books. Batman visits Arkham Asylum, and he sees the Joker. The Joker is there, played by what's his name, Barry Keoghan. Please look up the pronunciation of his name, Alan, because I'm not gonna figure it out. But so Batman visits him. He's there. What I don't like about it is the way it's shot. You never get a good look at the Joker. He's always he's behind like this screen and the glass. They sort of rack the focus, so the plane of focus is not on the Joker's face. You never really get a clear look at him. You see his hands are all like covered in like little like blood and cuts and weird stuff. In any case, he goes to visit the Joker. He puts this little packet of papers, basically the Riddler's riddle cards, and passes it off to the Joker. The Joker looks at it and like starts to give his take on the Riddler, but he doesn't really give us any information I don't think the information that the Joker gives is very useful. It's also, this scene could have been 2 minutes. It's 5 minutes, and it's 5 minutes of, my problem with the Batman, I've seen it 3 times now, is everything takes longer than it should. Do you hear what I'm saying? And I feel like you could have edited the Batman down to a nearly 2 hours running time. It would have been tight. You could have gotten rid of the little Wayne family shame. You could have cut that whole part out because it's resolved very quickly. A lot of the stuff with Falcone went on too long. You know, we already knew where that was going. So I feel like there's a much better version of the Batman that should include this scene. I think they should not have cut this deleted scene. I think what it does is it pays off, later, and this is spoiler, right? So later, when you see, the Riddler is in Arkham Asylum, he has a friend now, and it's the Joker. So you see maybe the two of them are going to pair up, in the next movie. Who knows? I think that they should just remake the original 66 Batman movie where the Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, and Catwoman, they all united to take down the World Council, and that took all the politicians that were fighting at the UN, and they used this ray gun to distill them down to their elements. So they're basically in test tubes, different colored test tubes. Go back and watch that. If you know what? I think it's on.
I remember that one.
I think it's on YouTube for free. It's the original Batman movie. So they made that movie, and then, the TV show kind of spun from that. But it's totally ridiculous and over the top, like the original 66 Batman series. But I'm going off. But it pays off, that final scene. That final scene is like, oh, so the Joker's just in Arkham Asylum. So what? But had we had that setup, a shorter version, I think that would have been interesting. Then I think that interplay would have paid that off. So my understanding is, I was at our movie Twitter meetup at the AMC Burbank 16, where we always sort of pregame at the Yard House there. Not an endorsement of any of those things. I'm just telling you that's what my Thursday nights generally are. And talked to a colleague there who saw a 4-hour cut of the Batman that said that the Joker scene was in it, and said that there were more traps, and described it more like Saw. There were other traps and other people. So they actually cut out some other Joker riddles and a couple other murders. So I'll have to see if my friend can, because the original script for the Batman was 260 pages. It just felt like the season finale of a Batman HBO Max show to me. And we've talked about it. We've talked about it at length. We have
a whole video on that. I mean, do you think the ending we got is in that 4-hour movie?
I don't know. I'll have to talk to my friend. Let's get to some comments. I love the length of the Batman. Mark O'Brien, to each his own. I respect your opinion. Yeah, the Batman definitely runs on molasses. I like the tone in the beginning, to be clear. I like this sort of like slow tone. You're kind of getting into his world, like you're getting into his head, how he goes about crime. And it's also like, if you go back and watch the original Michael Keaton Batman's not in the movie very much. The screen time is less than, I mean, God, maybe 10, 15 minutes. It's weird like that, like Batman is not in the movie very much for the original 1989 Batman. What I do like about this is it's the point of view of Batman, and Batman is in the movie a lot as Batman. Bruce Wayne we get very little of, and there's even an explanation for that. Batman is who he really is. So there you go.
The slow pace at the beginning was the noir aspect of it.
Exactly.
It needed to go slow.
Spider Geronimo says, glad they cut the Joker scene. I'm tired of him being in every Batman movie. I would agree. I would say that like either you add that scene back in, which pays off the ending, or you just don't have any Joker at all. I mean,
yeah.
And I also feel like if you're going to reveal the Joker or have Batman's first meeting with the Joker, which they could do in the Batman movie, they could go back and show a flashback of how Batman and the Joker met, because what's interesting about the deleted scene is they're like, the Joker has this line where he talks about our first anniversary, paper, and I just don't, and because he's handing him all the Riddler's little riddles and kind of looking at this, like trying to get some insight. But also I happen to think that like, look, the best Joker, I mean, God, Joaquin Phoenix is pretty amazing, but I still think it's Heath Ledger is the best Joker. And I feel like the actor that they hired to play the Joker hadn't quite nailed down what his take on the Joker was. It's just to be jokery. It's like, no, you got to show some more layers. And it's just like, I'm a crazy serial killer with a clown face and a scar. It's like, I feel like part of the reason that they cut it is because the performance was not that great. The performance was not that great. And I actually hope that they end up recasting. I think part of the reason they had him obscured is you could cast a different actor for it. I was not super into that. Spider Drum, I grew up on Batman 66. Good times. Hell yeah. Hannibal Grimm. Watch out. Watch for the bat shark repellent. Stay for the silliness. And yeah.
Just the fact that he happened to have it in his utility belt.
Right. Infinite Main. This is the scene I wanted to see in The Dark Knight Rises, but didn't get. Yeah, you're right. They should actually originally, my understanding is that, in The Dark Knight Rises, do you remember Scarecrow ends up being like this sort of like judge in this kangaroo court? That was supposed to be the Joker. Originally, they were going to cast someone, and Christopher Nolan did not feel comfortable having another actor play that part. I think you could have used a body double. You could have had someone. Look, they routinely in a lot of movies have other actors loop dialogue for major actors. We know some people who do that job. And they even do things what they call breaths and efforts. Breaths and efforts is like in fight scenes when like you'll see Tom Cruise and he's like, he's running or gets hit. They actually hire other actors to do that ADR, but they still have to sound like Tom Cruise. So a friend of mine, John Bailey, who he's epic voice guy. He does the honest trailers. He's also at Award This. John Bailey is our announcer. John Bailey does the voice. You can look up videos from Award This on the Film Threat YouTube channel. Just look up Award This. You can actually watch the past shows. You can see our drive-in show from last year. But John Bailey does Ryan Reynolds' voice. So sometimes they need like Ryan Reynolds to loop some dialogue. They get sound-alikes. This happens in TV commercials all the time. They get someone who sounds like George Clooney to do a Chevrolet commercial or whatever. So just so you're aware, I feel like there's a way that Christopher Nolan could have done it that would have paid tribute to the character and Heath Ledger's performance without ruining all of that. So there you go. The chat is on fire. Gabriel, isn't this new Joker way young too? I agree. At least the actor they went with reminded me of another Lex Luthor situation. Yeah, I thought he was too young. He should be older than Batman and 10 steps ahead. He should be in prison because he wants to be there, because he's working out his next plan, and then it's a matter of implementing it. There should have been some way of projecting that. Hannibal Grim, Barry phoned that shit in. I agree. It just seemed too cliche. There was no nuance to it like there was with Joaquin Phoenix or Heath Ledger. Like those to me, those performances. I mean, Jack Nicholson is just over the top and crazy. So I agree. Too young.
I think he's meaning that he literally phoned it in. He wasn't on set. He just literally phoned.
It's possible. It's possible. We Are Here says it's going to be near impossible to top Heath's performance depiction, in my opinion. Totally agree. I think that most people would agree. Holly Weirdland, the young Joker kid, is too young and not a good actor. Yeah, I mean, he's been good in bit parts in other movies. What's that movie? It's like a heist film that he's in. Is actually pretty good.
American Animals.
American Animals. I saw that at South by Southwest. We actually interviewed the director from a past podcast, but he's in that movie American Animals, and it's a true story about a heist of art gone wrong. And that's a great movie. He's really good in that, but he's not. I mean, he's a kid. He's sort of playing his age, and he's a
nerdy kid too. So it's very low energy performance as well.
Right.
Hollywood, I can mention it. Cesar Romero. Why do we never talk about Cesar Romero?
Cesar Romero's great, and what I love about Cesar Romero is he just put the makeup over the mustache. It's so ridiculous.
Just the energy and he nailed it every time he was on screen.
Toxic Waltz N8 says the actor is older than Heath was, though, yet seems so much younger. Yeah, it's true. I mean,
he's got that boyish look.
He's got a boyish look for sure. I mean, Heath Ledger was. I mean, it's shocking how young he was and died. There you go. Hannibal Grimm says Alan is onto my shenanigans. So, and then Punter Squad, I thought the sequel to The Dark Knight was essentially the Joker being on trial. No, it was that trial scene, where they, were casting people out, and Scarecrow, it's revealed Scarecrow is the judge in the kangaroo court. Originally, that was supposed to be the Joker, and they decided not to do that. I have another movie to talk about. So we're going to. So Cesar Romero was the best. I think that's a good way to end it. But the Batman, bottom line for me, that deleted scene, a shorter version of that deleted scene should have been added in to pay off the ending if their intention was to set something up. My feeling is they felt the scene wouldn't work, wasn't strong enough, and they left it vague. And my guess is they're going to recast that role. Unless you can do a different take, at least Jared Leto, whatever you think of his performance, I didn't like it. I did not like it, but he tried something different. And it's just like the comic books, when a different group takes over a writer artist team on a comic book, there's a different tone, and you kind of got to get used to it, and there's certain runs, like the Fantastic Four to me is the Jack Kirby, Stan Lee first 100 issues of the Fantastic Four. I love them. I love those issues, but there are other runs later, other artist writer teams that brought different things to the Fantastic Four. And I think that's true with a lot of characters that have been around a long time. Let's switch. Let me tell you about the movie that I saw. And let's get right to it. I saw The Lost City with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt. And there will be mild spoilers, I'm just letting you know. But if you've seen the trailer, you already saw the best parts of The Lost City. Can I just say that? So it's a cheesy romantic comedy about a woman who's an author. She writes these romantic adventure novels, and the cover model for all of her books series, Channing Tatum, is an idiot. He's basically a himbo who's a moron who, down to the fact that like his hair is fake on all the covers. It's revealed that his hair is fake. He's just a bumbling idiot. Well, this media magnate played by Daniel Radcliffe, that's the best way to describe him, is after an actual lost city. He's after some treasure, and there were some clues in one of her recent books that she might actually have, because she started out actually as an archaeologist and traveled the world with her husband. Then after he passed away tragically, and they don't even go into it all that much. She like decides to become a romance novelist, right, as a way to heal her heart. Well, Daniel Radcliffe's character sort of thinks that like she might have some info of how to find this lost city, and basically kidnaps her and forces her to help him on this search to get the treasure. Very simple premise. Well, of course, as is revealed, I'm not telling you anything that's not in the trailers, right? But you know, as is revealed, Channing Tatum's character goes off. They hire Brad Pitt, who's effectively like Dog the Bounty Hunter, and very skilled to go off on this adventure. Now, I've told you everything that's in the trailer. You've seen the best parts of the movie. This film did not work for me for a number of reasons. One, it just, look, I'm up for it. I'm not like this snob. I'm not a movie snob when it comes to this stuff. I like a good, dumb movie every once in a while. Look, trauma films are among my favorite types of movies. Love trauma. In fact, we're going to have Lloyd Kaufman on the Film Threat live cast. He's going to be coming in a couple weeks. I think early April. Lloyd is going to be here, and you'll be able to talk to him. Lloyd Kaufman of Trauma live. That's coming up. But you know, the movie's not that long, and it felt even long to me. It just felt so also like it was all shot against a green screen in a studio. Yeah, I know there were some exteriors, but so much of it felt just flat. I didn't think that the action sequences were particularly clever. And the other thing is, and I'm going to say this in the most polite way, I feel really bad to even like point this out, but I saw this at the Dolby Digital Cinema, which the picture is so clear at this. If you can get to a Dolby Digital Cinema, it is, and they show it. They do this little trailer before that shows you how like how black the blacks are. It's like, it just looks, it's the best you're going to see a movie. I saw the Batman in Dolby Digital. It looks flawless. And Sandra Bullock is 57 years old. And in many parts of the movie where she might have been acting, she can barely move her face. I feel so terrible even pointing this out. And she's made herself the romantic lead of this. And it just, this is awkward to even discuss, but it really felt like she just had too much work done and her face didn't move in certain parts. It was really evident in the Dolby Digital because it's such a clear picture. And everyone I was with mentioned it, like, she just, so that was a little distracting because I like Sandra Bullock a lot. She's a lot of fun. Gravity, I really enjoyed Gravity. It's one of the few films that I'd recommend seeing in 3D. And there's just like a handful of films where it's like, oh, that actually works for 3D. But I'm so glad 3D has gone away. I'm so glad I didn't see this movie in 3D. But Daniel Radcliffe is pretty much a cartoon. Brad Pitt's the best thing in the movie, and he's not in it very long. You saw the trailer. That's about how long he's in the movie. So I just did not love it. Now, I think, Alan, you also saw the film. So what are
I saw it last week.
Okay, do you have thoughts that differ from mine? What do you think?
I mean, I will say that the audience for this movie is the Sandra Bullock audience, and her performance is very much the miscongeniality Sandra Bullock versus the Gravity or No Time to Kill. So it's it's a little light, it's a little comedic, and that's the movie. That's what this movie is.
Right.
To me, the biggest problem is the adventure. If you compare it to like a Raiders Lost Ark, there you want to go from step to step to step, and it's exciting at each step. And this one, it's just very bland. They're near this volcano, and they're moving toward the middle of the volcano, and so volcano-y things happen, and then there's bad guys chasing them. But there's nothing that really, I really wanted that aspect of it to feel like an adventure and not just some, big budget, action movie. And I think if they had really spent time on the adventure aspect of it. I think this would have been a much better movie, because I really didn't have a problem with this chemistry between her and Channing Tatum, considering that he's so much younger than her. That's kind of a nice twist. And then the other thing I'll say about Sandra Bullock, she's very smart about her characters. You can tell she puts a lot of effort into that character, and it shows in this one. But it's like Hope and Crosby. It's a good pairing, but do we really care about what the adventure they're going on, this road trip they're on?
Yeah, we don't really care. The only thing that's at stake is she doesn't want to be on this adventure.
Yeah.
She just doesn't want to be on it, and Daniel Radcliffe is kind of forcing her to do this. Let's go.
And then she does, that's
and then she does. Let's see. Let's get to the chat here. It's Alan Hollywoodland. I'm sure Alan Quartermain was better.
Probably.
Thunderstruck 54, Avatar in 3D was great. That's one of the few movies. A lot of people, someone said earlier in the chat, I'm so sorry I'm missing these because they're going fast. Max One Up says, I don't miss paying extra for terrible 3D effects. Agreed. I don't need to see the latest Marvel movie in 3D. They're not made to be 3D movies necessarily. The 3D was always introduced as a way to charge you extra money, which I think is BS. So I there you go. And
it's not just enough to turn a movie 3D. There has to be a 3D aspect to the story.
And Deleas Music says, I have an OLED 3D TV and I love it. Good, that's good.
Wasn't there a 3D Friday the 13th?
Yeah, and there were 3D DVDs. Hannibal Grimm says F3D. So there you go.
Yeah.
Chris, Hannibal Grimm asked, Chris, how was the sound to you when you saw it? The sound was okay. I thought that the one thing that was really pedestrian about the film, this really bothered me, the score. The score and the music for Lost City was weak. I thought it was very much like a Hallmark Channel TV thing. Not that I actually watch those, but whenever I've accidentally hit on one, nothing compelling is happening that would keep me on the channel. And I think the best comment was after we walked out of the theater seeing The Lost City, it's like, this is a movie that would be great on streaming, right? like it's just like, if you saw this on, no, but if you saw this as a streaming movie, you'd go, oh, Netflix, this was a fun movie, right? Like, I really enjoyed this. I actually like that, some of this, I feel like if this just hit streaming, I would have liked it better. But the fact that it was at the theater, and I feel like the trailer almost hurts it, because the trailer makes it look like it's wall-to-wall fun, and it's not. There are parts where the movie just sort of stops. And of course, the two characters, what happens? Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock bond.
Maybe. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. It's weird though, but the women in my life really want to see this movie.
Yeah,
I find that interesting.
Yeah. What can I say? The trailer makes it look like the Netflix one with The Rock in it.
The one with Gal Gadot and
Liam in Wales. So Infinite Main says, "Are we ever going to get Channing Tatum in a solo Gambit movie?" He got my hopes up for that. Never.
Nope.
That's not going to happen.
The bridge has been burned, basically.
The bridge has been burned, and that's it. And who knows what's going to happen? It does sound like they'll be introducing the X-Men or a different universe version, because we heard Patrick Stewart's voice in Doctor Strange.
It's confirmed. It's him. He even talked about it.
Yeah, no surprise. But I don't know. Perry Zambolas, not that I actually watch those, right, Gore? Yeah, come on. I don't.
Yeah.
No, I'm whatever. God. Look, there's some embarrassing things that I watch that are I don't even feel guilty.
I stumbled on one.
Yeah, I did. I was on X-Ray Girl, who's the producer on Friday Night Lights. X-Ray Girl and her partner for this show, her name is Tugs. They do a show called Pour Choices, Pour Choices, where they basically drink wine and talk about bad reality shows. And I watch with my girlfriend on Sunday nights. We watch 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days. Okay, it's an awful reality show, but as as a documentary filmmaker and as someone who just loves documentary film, I really watched that show with like this keen eye of like, how do they do this? They're in other countries. There's other languages. They have subtitles. They're like, there's so much that would go into a production for 90 Day Fiance. So I was on an episode of Poor Choices. You can look for it. And I'm going to be on a future episode of Poor Choices talking about the 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days finale. And feel free to mock me for that. Go right ahead. Let's see, Gabriel, while going by Chris's movie preferences during the G4 era, I don't expect him to like a romantic movie. There are very few. I mean, I do like some romantic films. This is going to sound like a weird, I freaking love Logan's Run. That movie's dated. It was futuristic at the time, but it has like escalators and was shot at a mall in Dallas. But the chemistry between Michael York and Jenny Agutter is amazing. And I had a huge crush on Jenny Agutter when I was a kid, and kind of still do. And there's that shower scene, of course, in An American Werewolf in London, which I strongly recommend. And Turo says, give X-Ray Girl a Coke. She likes Coke. So there you go. But it's funny, we're talking about wine and whatnot and poor choices. Wait, Perry Zombolis says, I watched all seasons of 90 Day, train wreck television. Perry, I'm right there with you. It is a train wreck. All my girlfriend and I do, we just yell at it and laugh because the people in it are so pathetic and sad. It's very, I also feel for them because they really are in search of love, right? Like they will go to another country to find a partner. That's how much they love that. So Graham Robbins says, Logan's Run, Carousel. Yes, I agree. And there you go. How about Marry Me? I saw Marry Me. We talked about it. It was okay. There's a review on the Film Threat YouTube.
Yeah,
Solina Sora, check that out. But we have a special guest that's going to be joining us at the top of the hour. And it's funny, here we're talking about drinking wine, and I am not a wine drinker. I am not a wine drinker, never really have been a wine drinker. But our special guest, we have documentary filmmaker Troy Christian is joining us here on the Film Threat podcast. Troy, thanks for being on the show with us today. How's it going?
Well, you're not a what?
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so
I just wanted to confirm, what time is it right now?
Yeah, it's 10 a.m.
It's 10 here. I wanted to make sure I wasn't late.
Well, it's juice. I mean, effectively, isn't wine just juice, right? It's grape juice. That's all.
It starts with grape juice. Yeah, it's really good grape juice.
Yes, well, much better than just grape juice. But we were just talking about this show where it's two women talking about reality TV drinking wine called Poor Choices. Your documentary, A Perfect Vintage, is about the art. I mean, I don't think it's out of line to say it. The art of winemaking. Tell me about it, because I am not a wine drinker. I feel like my taste buds, but as I've gotten older, my taste has changed. You know, I used to be a guy that just liked cheeseburgers. Now I eat sushi. So give me, for those of us that are not wine drinkers, give me the pitch on wine. And wine is not just, the drink of the gods, right? We've been drinking wine since, the times of the Greeks and Romans, but what is it that what goes into the art of winemaking, and then also what led you to make a documentary about clearly your passion?
Well, definitely one of my passions. So let's start with what led me there. I have a brother who's a winemaker in Napa, Timothy Milos, and he co-produced the film with me back in 2012. I was looking for a passion project to do, something I could sink my teeth into. And I started following him around a little bit and saw, as we discussed wine and what went into it, I was really enthralled by what he had to say. And he was very well spoken about it. And I said, there's something here. So the most interesting thing I learned in doing this film is how closely similar what my brother, the winemaker, does is to what I do. So there's a line in the film that says, people have to understand the number of things that had to go right to put that really nice bottle of wine in the bottle. and documentary filmmaking is the same way. It's basically, I get hired or I do projects and I oversee all of these moving parts. And he does the same thing in the wine business. So there's tremendous similarities between the process. So it's pretty fascinating. And there are people who've watched the film, which has struck me, and they're not drinkers at all, like yourself. And they say, wow, I learned so much. It's what makes this a universal topic is the passion that you see from the winemakers and the craftsmanship and what they do and how they do what they do and what it means to them. It's really a beautiful story about the passion of the winemakers and how they dance with Mother Nature and the rhythms of that. Because Mother Nature, there's another line in the film, well, sometimes nature is just a mother, because imagine trying to make this consistent product in an ever-changing world. The water rains different that year, the sun's different, the temperature, there's frost, there's all these things that come into play. So it's a lot goes into making a nice bottle of wine, just like making a great film.
Can you dispel some myths about winemaking? There's a classic I Love Lucy episode where she goes to Italy, gets in a fight with a girl where they're stomping their feet on the grapes. That's a thing I've heard about for years. Is that a real thing? And do they do that in the United States?
I just did it a month ago. And
what?
Yeah. So my brother was like, hey, we're stomping grapes. It's called whole cluster fermentation. And you stomp the grapes. So the idea is you kind of, one of the things that winemakers do to control how the wine tastes is, do you leave it on the skins? Do you leave the stems in there? You get more potassium from the stems and all this scientific stuff, or the drying tannin. So there's a reason for that. And the biggest takeaway I got from it was that these grapes were picked probably at 4:35 in the morning, right at sunrise, and they're cold on your feet. And it was freezing. I was like, oh, I'm getting hypothermia up in here. So it was, but it was fun. It's something that you have to do if you're a wine fan, a fan of wine, a fan of winemaking. I mean, come on, I Love Lucy. You got to do it at least once. Just don't drop an earring.
It just seems like it would just be like the feeling of grapes and the skin of the grapes going through your toes. And stuff. I just assume you wash your feet before you go in there.
You do, but here's another thing you learn in the film is that nothing pathogenic grows in wine. So you'll see the winemakers dipping cups in there and up to here in wine with dripping off their hands and the feet thing and all that. And well, all of that stuff during the processes of fermentation and all of that, none of that stuff can live in there. So you're safe from the toe jam. Just FYI.
That's good to hear. Now, what did you start out? Because what I love about talking to documentary filmmakers is many did not start as filmmakers. They started as someone with a passion to tell a story, and the way to tell that story was to become a documentary filmmaker. And I think that that's something with today's technology. You know, cameras are so cheap. Our iPhones can shoot in 4K. The equipment, like, were you a filmmaker first, or did you learn to become a filmmaker to tell this story?
Completely the latter. So I started as a musician, sax player, played professionally for a lot of years, but I've always had a passion for theater. So I went off to New York and danced on Broadway and did that whole thing. And dancing took me to choreography, and choreography to creative direction. And at some point, you got to start documenting what you're doing so you can get your next job. So I got one of those cameras that said, do its tapes fit in my VCR? And started filming that stuff. And then you have to edit it. And one of the things that I really learned in the filmmaking world is that having the music background, having the acting background, having the dancing and choreography of imagery background, all of those things prepped me for what I was meant to do, which is make films, because I speak all these different languages. I can talk to the composer about what I'm looking for in the music, and I can speak to what measure that is and what note that is and what key that is. And when it comes to imagery, as a choreographer, that's what you do. You put pictures together. So, and then also as a musician, it's timing. So I definitely started in a whole other realm. And it's interesting that you brought up technology, because I started this project, A Perfect Vintage, aperfectvintage.com, by the way, back in 2013. And in 2013, I started on a DSLR. I had a 5D and a 7D and what everybody was shooting on at that time, 1080p or 2K. And during the process of making this film, we went from 2K to 4K to 6K, and we went from a GoPro drone to a Mavic Pro and a unique drone. So all these other the technology changes was a tremendous challenge in the making of this film. So it's there was a lot of learning and a lot of fixing along the way with those technological advances.
Well, I want to just show you here that we've actually got a review of the film on Film Threat right now. That I've got a very good review.
Yeah,
got a very good review.
Yeah.
My colleague Alan Ng, who's the editor-in-chief of Film Threat, is here. Before we get to the chat, there's a lot of questions and comments for you in the chat from our live audience. Alan, do you have any questions for Troy?
Yeah, I mean, I have, as a documentary filmmaker, you know, you're taking a subject that definitely has a niche audience, but I know you're not making it for that audience. You're going for a broad audience. You know, what is that kind of process where you think, how am I going to make this interesting to people who are not wine connoisseurs, so to speak?
Well, that's a great question. And my brother, Timothy Milos, who basically stars in the film, and by default, because he's a winemaker, Napa became my casting director. So a lot of his friends and people who do what he does are in the film. They're all scientists, and talk about putting, having people's eyes roll back in their head pretty quickly. When you start getting into the science of wine and the stuff that they do and all that, you'd lose people pretty quickly. So as I shot all this stuff, it just became pretty clear, pretty evident pretty early on that in order for this to be accessible to, well, myself to begin with, because I didn't know what I know about wine now when you started. It's a great thing when you're a documentarian and you do a deep dive into whatever the topic might be, and you can speak to it because of all the research and all the time spent on the subject. But just trying to make sure that there's a lot of people who know so much about wine that maybe, yeah, I know all this stuff. But when you watch the film, there's a little bit of humor. There's a little bit of, as the Brits would say, taking the piss with regard to the slurping and the talking about it and the scoring system and all that frou-frou kind of wine stuff, and breaking that down and saying it's not really about that. There's a couple rules in wine, right? Drink what you like and try something new. And not everybody's plumbed the same way. So I really tried to hit it in the intermediate wine person's wheelhouse, so that it was accessible to those who know nothing about wine, and there's still some fun and passion and experience in it for people who know a lot about wine.
Well, let's go to the chat here. So we have some great comments and questions. Geek Truth 64 says, I'm going to ask the real question. Does Troy, quote, drink and know things? There you go. I think that's the answer to your question, Geek Truth 64. And let's see, there was a great comment up here from Graham Robbins. Says, I grew up on a vineyard. No matter how much work you put in, you're one flood, frost, or mold outbreak away from a total bust of a season. But I have fond memories of family. Can you explain that, Graham's comment? Like, just
Sure.
I've heard of that. Yeah, like that's nuts.
Well, there's a period, and one of the things we do in the film is we go through. I followed my brother for the entirety of a year, so you see the pruning process, and there's a particular spot in the grapes' growth, and wine. Like, the journey isn't just the year that it grows and you pick the grapes; it goes on into how you treat the wine after. But they talk about frost in particular. Let's just do that one. And as I was starting to do this film, I was looking for some stock footage on frost on vines, and there was none. And I happened to just be driving down the road one cold morning, and there was these vines that were covered in ice. Now, that's fine. But if it happens imagine you just planted a garden and you've got these little plants that have just broken the earth and they're coming up, and there's these little buds coming up. And if it freezes, they die. So basically, you learn that with frost at the wrong time, well, you get one chance a year to make the wine from that place, one chance. And if it frosts or floods or fires has been a big thing, you're done. And there's actually one of the wineries that was in the film, Rubiceau Family Vineyards. They're out of business. The fires came in the year after we made the film, or a couple of years after, and smoked their vineyards. So the grapes tasted like, they call it smoke taint. Mm. So it's like smoked grapes and those compounds on a scientific level bond together, and it tastes like awful. And so they had to throw out their entire vineyard, and they lost their business. So what was the person's name?
It was Graham Robbins.
Graham.
He says spot on explanation. So
yeah, Graham.
Awesome.
So you know what you're talking about. It's like it's agriculture, it's farming. And to Graham's point, and to the Rubiceau family point, it's family farming. And one catastrophe, you use this year's money to pay for next year's vintage, and if you lose that, you're done. So there is, in today's world, there's a lot of NBA players, actors, people with big money who can afford something like that, and that's cool when you got it like that. But for a lot of the family farmers, it's you're teetering on extinction all the time, and you're just hoping that Mother Nature plays along.
Gabriel says, to me, the struggle and naturality of the entire process makes the end product so much more artful and satisfying, in my opinion. And a question for you here. Solomon Thornton says, what documentary films inspired you? Because I will say this, what you are in is a very popular category of documentary, which is food documentaries. Food docs, whether it's about a chef, whether it's about a type of food, sushi, whatnot, like food docs are popular. But what kind of documentary films inspired you?
Well, I absolutely loved, speaking of sushi and food docs, Jiro Dreams of Sushi was one of the first kind of food documentaries that hit the scene. And that was shot on DSLRs as well, 5Ds and smaller cameras, but they did a really nice job. And that was right at the beginning, at the precipice of all of these Top Chef and all of the crazy TV shows and docs that have come out of this. And then of course there's the Somm movies and Decanted, and there's a huge family, and of course Bottle Shock and Sideways. Those are all the wine films. But when somebody does a documentary right and you learn something, I mean, like My Octopus Teacher, come on, that was such an incredible piece of filmmaking. And I always say it's better to be lucky than good. And I think about the number of times I tried to capture things, or I knew what I was trying to get, but I had to go find the balloons in the air and just the right thing, and the sunrise and the grapes and all these things happening, and document that. And I think about, I didn't have to do it underwater, and I didn't have to do it holding my breath, thank goodness, because what that guy was able to capture underwater, I mean, seriously, I mean, that's really being way more lucky than, well, he was probably good too, but that was a great film as well. So I like all documentaries, as long, if the subject matter is right, and learning stuff, and I'm a history buff, so yeah.
Well, Side Hustle Life LLC asks, is this a new movie? Where can I watch it? Well, you can read about it on filmthreat.com. There's a review of we've got a very positive review on Film Threat, but where can people see it right now?
Yeah, so it's on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and if you go to the website, aperfectvintage.com, there's links to everywhere you can see it. It's on DirecTV and Spectrum, and check your local cable listings. I'm really happy to say, and it's pretty exciting. I've worked on so many films as a dancer, choreographer, director, and been in the business for a long time. But to have my own passion project have this wide a release is really an exciting thing. So any support you can give, and if you want to get out there and rate it and review it, I'd love that, because it's really about, back in the day, you needed a studio and they would do a TV commercial, and that still exists. But for those of us, supporting independent filmmaking like you guys, thank you very much for all that you do in that regard. It's an exciting thing to have it out there. And the biggest challenge, I think I was reading yesterday that 2% of all independent films are seen by people other than the filmmaker's family. 2%. So my mom's already seen it. So I'm just hoping that, come on, go check it out. And there's at perfectvintage.com, there's a trailer, so you can get a good idea of what it's going to look like. And there's some magical moments. If you like travel, it's there too. Because I happened to be filming a TV show, and we wrapped in Cannes, France, and I rented this little wine-colored Fiat. And wine-colored Fiat, see, dancer. and I drove north through the Rhone Valley and filmed these incredible places in France and Burgundy and Beaune and Paris, and there's some of that in the film. So plus I filmed some stuff in Hawaii and where else, in Tuscany. So that's in the film. You get to travel a little bit. So if wanderlust is your thing, it's good for that as well.
No, I love that. I don't travel nearly as much as I used to because of, our current state. But I think that I love what you're wearing, because you could spill wine all over. Whenever I see someone like go to a winery or like go to drink wine and they're wearing like a white shirt, like, what are you thinking? Like, you got to wear dark, like, it's crazy. But real quick, and I just want to say, like, the chat is really loving everything that you're saying. They're very positive.
Well, I love you right back. I love you right.
That's great. But they love to hear about, we bring filmmakers on. They've just made interesting movies. And I just think that, like, this is within your reach. If you really are passionate about a topic, you can make a doc about it. It's like within your reach. And on that note, Fletcher Williams has a question for you. What equipment do you shoot with?
Well, currently I've got I do all the DSLR stuff. So I started this film on a 7D and then a 5D and then a GH4 and then a GH5 and an S1H, if you know the DSLR world, and then started it on a GoPro drone, which turned into a Mavic and a Mavic 2. And then we now have a Unique. So I shoot a lot of the stuff that I do with my Panasonic S1H, because it's that small format camera and I've got some nice lenses, and it's all about the glass too. And then if I do a bigger project, I do some music videos for artists, and I'm not just a documentarian. I direct commercials, or I really enjoy doing music videos because of my music and dance background, and you get to kind of just make art for art's sake. Then I'll hire another DP who comes with a well, my favorite camera is the Alexa, but I shot something on a Phantom recently, and those are a little out of my price range to own, but they're great to rent, and you can do some cool things with those cameras. Yeah.
It's all within reach. Just for those in the chat that are thinking about pursuing a topic, it doesn't matter. And I think almost when it comes to documentaries, the more obscure, the better. We just finished covering South by Southwest Film Festival. There's a documentary about Pez dispensers, and a guy who travels the world picking up Pez dispensers from overseas, bringing them to the US, like rare ones, and selling them. And what's the name of that doc, Alan?
It's The Pez Outlaw.
The Pez Outlaw. So, I mean, like, how crazy is that? So don't think that any topic, no matter how strange, if you're passionate, because you're going to live with this for years. I mean, you started this movie in what, 2012, right? So 10 years later. So that's great. Fletcher Williams goes on to say, yeah, I love that. Jiro Dreams.
But I just want to expound on one thing that you said.
Please, sure.
If you have a story to tell, because really, I watched it in the music industry, right? Back in the day, as a sax player, I had friends who had some intermediate size studios. Well, because with these laptops that came out, everybody could have their own recording studio in their bedroom, right? So you can now either record at Capitol Records and do it that way and record your full orchestra, or you can be in your bedroom with your laptop and you can do the whole thing there. And filmmaking, and because of that, all the little intermediate studios are gone. And so it's the high-end stuff and it's the independent stuff. And filmmaking's the same way. I look online and see the filters and the transitions and the things that are on TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat, and you go, wow, it's not about the camera anymore. If you're doing Marvel superhero movies, it's about the camera. But if you're trying to tell a story, you remember when we first started seeing home movies on the news or whatever, they would actually have to put a little disclaimer at the bottom, home video, because it was a shaky camera and it wasn't okay to have that. Well, now we've got, everybody's phone is a thing. So the only thing that AI is actually getting better at that, and cameras can't do, is tell your story. So if you have a story to tell, that's what's going to be left, because you're going to be able to have AI. It was funny. We did a few things while we were writing the literature for, the website copy and all those kind of things. And we drop it into AI and say, here's what we're trying to write. And it would pop out something that was pretty good. I was going, so you guys better watch out for your jobs. AI is going crazy, but really it's about the heart and the story more than the gear that you use. If you have nice gear, it's better. You can shoot slow-mo and control the thing, but it's really about telling your story. So go tell it.
And here, final comment here as we wrap up. Graham Robbins says, Troy, thanks for making this. I think when most people think of winemakers, it's either a dude in a beret in France or some rich dude in an unbuttoned linen shirt in Napa. And that's so far from the truth. And Liam in Wales says, amazing advice. Which is great. And Gabriel says, definitely one of the better aspects of the internet, giving independent stuff like this a venue for recognition. So, Troy, thank you for joining us on the Film Threat podcast. A Perfect Vintage is out now. It's on, you can get it on iTunes. You can get it on Amazon. You can go to your website, which is, it's a perfect vintage.com.
Correct. Yeah.
Perfectvintage.com. Troy, thank you. And thank you to our chat always has such great, insightful questions. So I want to say thanks to the chat. You make our job of interviewing independent filmmakers great. Troy, I know you're going to have a great rest of your day because you're already kicked off the best way possible.
It's Friday, man. Thank God it's Friday. What can I say?
Exactly. It's perfect.
Yeah, I just want to say to you guys, thank you for taking the time with me and to giving independent filmmakers a voice and bringing awareness to people who are passionate about what they do and getting it out there to those amazing people with the beautiful comments. And I appreciate you guys very much.
Great. Troy, thank you so much. Congratulations on the film, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Later. That was great.
Yeah.
That was great. Wow. Troy, see, here's my problem with movies like that. And it's not a bad thing. Every time I see it, I have to drink wine. Yeah. I saw a documentary on beer, making craft beer called Brewmance, which was great. So, I don't know, like every time I see a doc like that, I guess I'm so easily manipulated that well, I want to drink wine now. It's a little early for it, though.
I mean, food docs, it's like, yeah, I need to try this. I saw one about the Michelin star system, and
God.
It's like, wow, I'll never be able to eat one of these dishes.
Well, it's I don't know, like that Jiro Dreams of Sushi, that documentary, like it's just like, even if you're not, I was not a sushi, I was just really not into sushi, and between like, I don't know, my girlfriend nudges me and whatever, and I was just like, now I really love sushi, and I've gotten way more ambitious, just a little bit more ambitious about what I'll try. Wait, I'm opening up a little, it's not wine. It's not wine, although
wine in the can. That's
wine in a can. No, it's just some club soda here. I have to wet my beak, so to speak. But yeah, we got another independent filmmaker, a group of independent filmmakers that we'll be talking to soon, which is great. So there you go. Yeah, Troy says thank you all. Cheers. What a great guy. That was awesome. Yeah. But we're going to Internet Rec Room. Please don't judge me, but more recently, I have gotten into drinking different types of hard seltzer. A couple reasons. One, I can't drink beer like I used to. I used to be a big beer drinker. Then I kind of switched to vodka, right? Vodka soda, because it has like 0 carbs and you get all that alcohol going there. But I've seltzers I kind of like because I can drink them. I can get a little buzzed, but I don't get drunk, right? And I like to I know my limits. I'm a very responsible drinker, to be clear, but I like the different flavors, the different types. I think, people talk about Truly and White Claw. I'm not about those. The Corona seltzer, I actually really like because it's just a little hint of flavor, whatever it is, peach, mango, you get a little bit of the flavor, and they even came out with one that's like 6% alcohol. So great. And Turo says,
I'm not much of a drinker at all. I'm not a drinker at all, but
no, you're not a drinker at all.
I have tried to dabble in wine, and I it's one of these things where I feel like I need someone to actually guide me through and teach me how to do wine. And
I didn't know. So Andrea McKinnon, who is a friend of the show and helped us coordinate this interview. We're very happy to have Andrea here in the chat. That's great. Hannibal Grimm, I'll stick to whiskey and the devil's lettuce. Well, that's great. I will say this. I love a good old fashioned. A really good old fashioned. If you go to my personal Instagram, if you've ever had like a smoked old fashioned where you like they make the old fashioned, but then they kind of smoke it. So it has like this They put this kind of smoke inside of something that's encased, and then it adds this smoky flavor to the old fashioned. Oh, wow, so great. Love that. Love that. So yeah, but old fashioned's not something you can drink like every day, right? Like I can drink like a hard seltzers over the weekend. I can drink those on, and I'm fine. Old fashioned is a sipper, and that's something that's like a treat, right? Like especially if you've got like a good steak. So Hannibal Grimm says, I saw that picture on your Instagram. I compared it. It's so weird. So I had the old fashioned, and it comes out of this encased thing, and all I could think was it's the Spice Guild Navigator from Dune. And because when you're a film fan, film person, you're kind of comparing real life experiences and things you see like with like movies all the time. So there you go. Selena Sora says, if you like beer but not the alcohol, try getting hop water. It's like seltzer with hops, just like beer. I have had it. It's great. It's great. And when I used to ride a motorcycle, I would have non-alcoholic beer. Just because I like the idea, you're holding the big green bottle, it tastes like beer, and you're drinking it, but I can't drink and ride a motorcycle. I think it's
please don't.
Yeah, it's dangerous. I never did it. So this is back in the day. I used to have a Triumph, a 1972 Triumph Daytona 500 that I ripped apart to the frame and reassembled it. I hired a buddy of mine to paint the tank, and then I reassembled it, and that was my bike for years. And that's how, by the way, that's how I survived in LA when I first moved to LA, because gas was expensive then, or at least it was to me at the time. I think it was $1.
Yeah, it was $1. I remember when it turned $1.
Early 90s. Early 90s, gas was $1. And but I rode a motorcycle to work, and a couple things. One, insurance was like $150 a year because it was a classic bike. So it was considered like, because it was restored classic bike, $150 a year for insurance. I never paid for parking because I would park between things. They always kind of make room for people, like, so you can park a motorcycle or a bike. You just park where the bikes go. So I didn't pay for parking. So I saved money there, and I would spend $3 a week for gas. So for me, it was a cost concern because I don't know. What can I say? And we have our next interview subject's going to be coming on in just a few minutes. I want to wrap up your chat comments and questions here before we get to that. Geek Truth 64, old fashions are great. It is my airport layover drink. Hell yeah, Geek Truth. If you know you're getting on a plane, first of all, you have no responsibility. You have no responsibility. When you're on a plane, you're like, I'm not driving anything. I'm just sitting here. I need to entertain myself. Old fashioned before you're getting on a plane. That is a great combination. Hannibal Grimm, first thing I thought was that you were in the future, and that was a replicator. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, replicator, like from Star Trek, The Next Generation. I'm not even reading these comments before I put them up. So
yeah,
take advantage of that if you will. Graham Robbins, Alan, it's pretty easy. Just try stuff and find what you like. A good place to start is a mom and pop Italian restaurant. Ask the sommelier or bartender, if they don't have one, about what they recommend. I always ask for recommendations. So I didn't know that you drank wine, Alan.
No, I don't. I like, there was one year, I think we got, because we're with the Critics' Choice Awards or Association, we get booze each year from the film companies. And, I think we got one year from Francis Ford Coppola. I tried that. And then I know 2 years ago, we got one from Martin Scorsese for The Irishman. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. This is a great drinking device. Your old film threat mug.
And so I'm, every time I drink wine, I feel like I'm not doing it right because it doesn't taste like, I don't know. It doesn't taste what I imagine it should taste like.
Right. Well, it's, I don't know. The whole thing of winemaking, the art of it, so much that goes into it. I really appreciate that. I just appreciate anyone who's super passionate about what they do. Wrapping up some comments here before we bring on our next guests. And Delius Music says, I still prefer Dune 1984 because it's so weird. I agree. I love that movie. And we've talked about it on the show. There is a 4K extended cut of Dune on YouTube, just on YouTube, that a fan put together. It's brilliantly done. We've talked about it. If you message me, and maybe you already did. Somebody did. I'll send you the link to that Dune. But you can just look it up. Dune, 1984, 4K restoration, complete cut. It's like almost 4 hours long. It's awesome. It's so good. Whoever did that, it was a labor of love. Ken Bogus, Chris, you're gonna make me drink at 10 a.m. And so, hey, here we go. My 2 dark side nuts, not your LA. Hello, all. Hannibal Grimm. Chris, Alamo Draft House has an old fashioned. Are you in LA? Okay, there's the LA Alamo Draft House. I have not been in a while.
I know. Are they still open?
They're still open, and I'm going to be there in a few weeks for a screening, so I will try that. Geek True 64, like I said, dropping in and out today. I just want to give thanks to Alan for hanging in there for the stream on Wednesday. That was hilarious.
I love that.
It was great. It was awesome. And Turo says, funny, I used to airbrush tanks, helmets, cars. Also used to ride Ortega Highway. Yeah, I hired a buddy of mine to just, can you paint the tank? Because I just took these bikes they're simple and pretty easy. So there you go. What are you driving now, Chris? Non-stalker question. I am driving a 2020 Toyota CHR because it looks like a Hot Wheels and it's covered in Batman stuff. Little Batman stuff on the wheel wells. That I'll post some pictures on my personal Instagram, which is at that Chris Gore. And Tom Graves, there's no wrong way to drink wine. You develop your palate the more you drink. Get your reps in.
Yeah, that's definitely the sense I got after.
I love Tom saying that. And take Alan on a live cam wine run. That should be fun to watch. Yeah. Can we all watch Alan's new haircut is boss? Can we all agree that Alan's
No, I need to get a new haircut.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Going out of control. It's
awesome.
Maybe by WonderCon I'll have a new haircut.
Wait, let's get to our next guest and topic here. It is a brilliant and passionate documentary film. We actually have the director, Sergey, and Sergey, you got to tell me the correct pronunciation of your name, Sergey.
Hi, yeah, it's exactly the way you said. It's Sergey.
Whoa, your last name.
Last name. I told you my first name. Okay. Safyulin.
Safyulin. Okay, great. And then we have the producer, Igor Semenov. How you doing today, both gentlemen? How's it going?
Hi. It's
cool.
Good.
I'm gonna feature you up top. This is my colleague Alan Ng. He's the editor-in-chief of Film Thread. I am, of course, Chris Gore. We are meeting each other for the first time. But tell me first of all, we just finished up interviewing a director about a food documentary. I would put it in that category, winemaking. And music documentaries are another thing. We interviewed a director earlier this week about a steel guitar. He had a documentary about steel guitar. Documentaries about music are amazing to see because you really have to have a passion for the project. So Sergey, can you tell us what led to this topic and how did you find the subject of your doc?
Actually, yeah, my good friend Igor, he's executive producer as well. He actually had the passion of photography, street photography, and one of his themes was taking pictures of the street musicians. And it was I don't know, maybe after a few years we met each other. I already knew about his hobby, and I asked him, why don't you make a documentary about this? It's you have so many photos of street musicians already. Let's just maybe make a big documentary. And that's actually how it started. We started planning out our documentary, and our initial project actually looked a little bit different. We have made a big tour around U.S. and we interviewed over 60, maybe 70 musicians, street musicians all over America. And once we got into the editing room, we just realized we have so many different stories, so many great stories, and we just thought, why don't we pick one story and try to make one movie just with one musician, about one musician. I'm sorry. And that's how we kind of had 60 musicians to choose from. We picked the one that was the most kind of wild and most I would say not like everyone else. And that was Ben Barnes' story, and we just jumped into that process and spent another 2 years filming just his documentary about that guy. Yeah.
But we're getting a little audio feedback. You might want to check your audio settings, Sergey. I want to make sure people can hear what you're saying. So maybe check your audio settings on your microphone.
Yeah, it's the microphone.
It's the microphone we're having some issues with, but we can hear what you're saying. It's just a little choppy. Igor, what is your role in helping Sergey get this project off the ground? Oh, Igor, can you hear me, Igor?
Hi.
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes.
Hi, guys.
Okay, cool. What can you add? Like, how did you work with Sergey on this project and help facilitate him? Because producer is always a role that is mysterious in some ways. Producer does, can do nothing sometimes, and it merely just the financing, which is not a small feat, and then also do everything. But what is your role in helping support Sergey as director on this documentary?
Какая у тебя была роль в этом процессе, как ты помогал Сергею?
Ну, изначально это была моя идея, это мое хобби. Оно у меня уже более 17 лет. Я фотографирую уличных музыкантов мира.
Yeah, preliminary, like Sergey said, it was my hobby. It's almost 17 years now. I was taking photographs of street musicians.
В этой своей работе я вижу очень большую глубину. Это и трагедия людей, и их творчество, и их взгляд на мир.
It's a very deep work. We see their tragedy and we see their view of the way they view their lives.
Well, I'll say, to me, I have such a mad respect for musicians because it's a thing where musicians that I have known, I have friends who are musicians. It's not they're I think a brilliantly talented musician is wired differently as a human being. And I mean that in a good way. There is just something about where they're taking their emotion and via an instrument explaining emotion to the world. And it's really just a beautiful thing to see unfold. Sergey, like you said that when you were shooting this doc, you had different subjects. What led you to choose the one subject that the doc is focused on?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, like after filming street musicians from all over the US. Oh, by the way, my mic is better now because
it's actually we're still getting the choppiness of it. I don't know what
I wonder if it's the wiring or the connection or something.
Yeah, I don't know, but
maybe
the mic seems just a little off or something.
Like there's static whenever you talk.
Actually, guys, I'm using my iPhone because I couldn't use Mac to connect to the.
We'll try to. You know what? Sometimes if you leave and come back, it works.
Yeah, I'll try to get closer to my mic.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get to some comments in the chat here, and I have a really important question. How can people see Violin Madness?
Right now, we actually cannot share the public link, but we would be more than happy to get some feedback and share maybe some private links, some people who are interested to get their feedback. Since right now we just actually at a very weird moment because we have applied to 30 festivals, only Oscar qualified ones at the moment, so we could kind of secure the nice spot for the premiere, and we haven't had any success yet. That actually kind of struck me, and I wanted to maybe get your idea on the festival strategy for indie filmmakers, because we can't really get any feedback what's maybe wrong or what's not good about it. But the first 12 festivals, including Sundance and that type of festivals, they all said they all didn't accept us to the program. Yeah, we're kind of feeling a little bit lost in a sense, because I don't know what could be wrong about the movie. I mean, as a film director, it always seems like you've done a good job, and we all think that it's perfect masterpiece. But I assume that it's not actually maybe absolutely true. Maybe you could give us some feedback. What could be done better in terms of I know kind of I segue to a different subject. Sorry about that.
That's okay, but a couple things.
Yeah.
One, you're already doing the right thing, which is just to, tour festivals. Oscar qualifying ones, that's like if you have like a goal in mind, which is you're going to Oscar qualifying. So that's really smart. And you're going to get a ton of rejections. Look, and I always say to filmmakers, you got to set aside budget to submit to festivals. That's just what you've got to do. So you're already on that pathway. You already have a type of documentary that is very popular, which is music. So I feel like you're just at the beginning of your journey. And I know we're having some mic issues. I want to go through some.
Yeah. Actually, let me just say, I saw Violin Madness back in January, and it just surprises me because it's a very strong and engaging documentary. Your subject, Ben Barnes, it's that classic story of a musician who was destined for greatness, but it was his kind of his own personal demons that kept him from reaching it, and to see where he is now. And I think, you captured an amazing story, and you captured the emotions of that as well. And so, like I said, I'm very surprised that it's not being received as well as you hoped it would be.
I don't know. It's a weird market right now. I wouldn't take that feedback necessarily negatively. It's a matter of like threading the needle of finding the right place.
Yeah. I mean, Ben tells a very compelling story about himself, and I think it's definitely worth watching for anyone who can get a hold of it.
Yeah, let's go to some comments in the chat. Liam in Wales says the trailer is up on YouTube. That's right. It may even be on the Film Thread YouTube channel. Look for the trailer for Violin Madness. So there you go. Fletcher Williams says, I remember my violin lessons as a kid with my Peruvian friends. Good times. Fletcher Williams says, Film Thread is bringing world peace by not canceling anyone with the names Sergey or Igor.
Thank you, guys.
Why would you?
Guys.
Also, look, I'm part Russian. I'm Russian, Polish, English, Irish, German.
What?
I'm a mix. So I don't know.
Yes, same for us.
There you go. Hannibal Grimm. I'll give it a watch. Amazing instrument, though, the violin. So,
right.
Getting a lot of love in the chat here. So,
thank you, guys. Yeah,
Igor brought a friend. And Hannibal Grimm has a great comment. I see violin in that title. I am sold.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, first of all, congratulations on the movie. Alan liked it. That's saying something. I want to have you back after the movie is in commercial release. Because right now, people can't see it. You're just at the beginning, like the steel guitar documentary filmmaker we talked to earlier this week. His movie is just hitting the festival circuit. You're at the beginning of the journey, and it might end up being a year from now, but you need to come back on the podcast when the movie is out and it's on Amazon or it's on iTunes. So I would love to have you both come back.
Can I ask you one short question, please?
Sure.
Yeah, just sort of piece of advice since I know a lot of filmmakers watching it as well. When we were submitting to the festivals, we had sort of a trade-off to submit as a short documentary, but we actually kind of wanted to be considered as a feature one, and we just barely made it hit the mark with the 51 minute. And one of the guys I talked to, it's the guy from Yahoo Entertainment, Kevin Palole. He's like, he said, I don't know, like it was his opinion that maybe the worst thing that could happen to us is that we won't get accepted because 51 minutes normally is not what the festivals are looking for. And if we just made it like 65, 70 maybe minutes, we could get much more luck, success. Do you think that's the issue, or it's because I think it's getting different opinions about that?
It's definitely an issue for programming.
And for short cuts,
it's So my suggestion is that this is what I would do if I was in your shoes. I would lean into it being a short. And what I would do is I would actually really tighten it down to like, maybe it's 40 minutes, 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. And then here's what I would do is I would take it on the festival circuit as a short, and I would tell everyone you're developing it into a feature. That way you get two things in one. So you get the short film that it's originally based on, right? And then you are still working on the feature-length version. But the short version is like a teaser for the feature-length doc. So this year I would tighten, I would make it a short, right? And then what I would do is keep working on the feature version, because maybe you need to shoot more stuff and whatnot. That's what I would do. That's what I would do, because 51 minutes is just like one of those things. And here you go. Fletcher Williams says, when you search for Violin Madness, a few things pop up. It's good that the Film Threat link to the video and the review comes up. So there you go. You see, you're already getting it out there. Great. And Fletcher Williams says, awesome idea, Chris. I know a little something. I've had movies on the festival circuit. I've made shorts and features, but that length of a short film or that length of a feature is it's an odd length. It works for television, right? Like 48 minutes, I think, is what most hour length TV is. But I think you're on that bubble. I would make it a short, and then I would keep working on a feature. That way you have two different movies. And I can't tell you how many documentaries started as a short documentary subject that was then developed into a feature. And maybe you could work in some of those other.
Chris, let me ask you this: the film, kind of half of it is Ben Barnes' story, his history of becoming a violinist, and the second half leans a lot into his struggle with bipolar disorder.
Right.
As a short film, I would think you'd want to kind of lean into the bipolar aspect of his life.
Yeah, and also just like the idea of, to me, like an artist who struggles is always a great story. It's a great story because so many people aspire to be artists and have little success. So yeah, I think that there's leaning into a short and then developing into a feature is the right way to go. I want to thank you guys also, Sergey and Igor and Igor's friend
Alex.
Alex, great to meet you, Alex. Thank you for being on the Film Threat podcast today. And Fletcher Williams says an artist struggle is always a great seller. And another comment from Turo: interviews like this bring the realization that heart and hard work still exist in movie making. It doesn't have to be only corporate stamped films. We all have a chance to make and enjoy our stories. Liam in Wales says thanks. So you're getting all this love in the chat.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, Igor, Alex, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you so much.
Come back when it's in commercial release and we can all see it.
Great talking to you.
Awesome. All right, take care. Have a great day. Later. That was great. That was awesome.
Yeah. That's surprisingly unexpected.
Well, I'm really loving all the that we can have a conversation with indie filmmakers who can tell us their stories, whether they're in the middle of it or whatever. I'm doing this for a reason, by the way, whether you're watching this live right now, and thank you, chat, great questions and supportive comments. Whether you are, watching this, whatever, you're watching it on the replay later, I'm doing this for a reason. I am bringing independent filmmakers on to talk to you because I know that it's an opportunity for you to see yourself in that. Like, well, maybe I'm in the middle of doing this, or I'm thinking about making a documentary film or whatnot. Like Film Threat is here to help you, not just by through, exposing your film to our audience, but in addition to that, just to showing you by example other indie filmmakers and their own struggles and what they're going through. And this is Sergey had a very interesting dilemma, which is it's on the bubble of shorter feature. What do we do? And I think you've got two movies in there. You've got a short, and then on the festival circuit, you can use the festival circuit to raise money. Right? You can be on the festival circuit and you can use the festival circuit as a way to go, we're developing this short into a feature. You can get more money for it and whatnot. And you can also build those relationships so that when the feature version comes out, hey, Sundance may have rejected this version, but then when the feature version, the 90-minute or 80-minute version comes out, boom, Sundance then bites on it. It's rejection is part of the process, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. You got to get used to it. It's like there's a really good documentary. Cody Gidley says, thanks, Chris Gore and Alan. And Fletcher Williams says it would be awesome to have a sort of independent film workshop, maybe once a month, where Chris and Alan help an up-and-coming artist release their films. Fletcher, we could, we're talking about doing, because first of all, I've said it before, I have no idea what we're doing on YouTube. I mean, we've really had I just think that nobody cared because we've been doing our YouTube channel for a couple of years, and we finally decided, well, let's start doing more live streams. And I think the live streams was the linchpin, the key, because then the audience is part of the show. And so thank you, Fletcher, for your question. And notice, like, people were making fun of Alan and I a couple of days ago for just reading all of it. Like, normally a lot of live streams, people only read the super chats, and we're reading all. I know we're kind of screwing ourselves, but like, I don't care. I want to talk to the audience.
If you want to leave a super chat,
if you want to, it's fine. But that's not a requirement. It's not a requirement to have your comment read, right? But thank you, Fletcher, for that. And Gabriel says, not to mention, you're helping dispel the idea that everything has to come from big corporations. When in fact, those are becoming increasingly bankrupt creatively. Gabriel had the comment last time of the show. This is the comment of the show, Gabriel. That's our mission, is like, because look, I like a good The Batman. I probably would have liked The Lost City if it were more fun, or if it lived up to what the trailer promised. Okay. But like, you need to diversify your media diet. This is sometimes I hate using some of those buzzwords from woke culture. I tend to avoid. I just don't want those words in common usage, so I don't use them, because I think it makes you sound like an academic person from academia. I'm going to just leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. But what I'm saying is that, like, I like a good big Hollywood movie when it's done well, right? And look, the Batman, for its flaws, for the most part, I love it. That score, I can't stop playing that score, especially when I drive my car. Who was it talking like earlier in the chat? Somebody said that their wife had the same car I did. I'm so sorry. I'm not able to keep up here. But like, yeah, it's but independent film is like, if you watch indie movies and Hollywood fare, I don't feel as disappointed when Hollywood movies suck, because I've got like other films. There's a movie, and I don't think we're going to run out of time today, but we have a filmmaker coming on next week, and I'm going to review the film. It's called, where is it? It's the weirdest title, and it just played.
Or is it?
It's called The Yellow Wallpaper.
Oh, yeah, I saw the poster for that. That looks
okay. The Yellow Wallpaper. Yeah, our Instagram. If you go to the Film Threat Instagram, the Film Threat Instagram is basically promotes T-shirts and our merch in the shop, but it also just shows you like weird movie posters, because I love the art of movie posters. There's a really good documentary. I'm going to throw out a recommendation for this doc, and it's called 24 by 36. A movie about movie posters. I think that's what it's called. Just look up 24 by 36. It might even be on Tubi or something like that. But it's a doc about movie posters. And I personally love movie posters. So
let me guess, you're not a fan of the floating head movie posters.
I can't stand those. Luke James with the $4.49 super chat. And it's like, what are those? What is that?
That's pounds.
That's pounds. 449 pounds. It's like, that's like $50 in American dollars. Spiral down. Luke James says, off work until April 5th. Birthday is next week. There will be cake and maybe a movie. Love the podcast. Glad I found it. Thank you, Luke James. Thank you for being a part of it. And we thank you for your support. Hannibal Grimm says, I've been meaning to watch that one, 24 by 36. It's really interesting because it gets into not just like the art of movie posters, what makes them work, the sort of why the bad ones developed, like because it was like lazy marketing, all the floating head in the sky ones, like those are terrible. Those movie posters are awful. But I'm not a fan of those, but why that became a thing. And then it gets into the sort of reimagining poster, like Mondo does these shows where they take like classic movies like Back to the Future, and then they do like a new, like sort of a reinterpretation of a Back to the Future poster. I love those posters. So Piers Bronson, who's been in the chat for a while there, says, added 24 by 36 to wish list. Sounds great. And Hannibal Grimm says, Mondo. Great. Fletcher Williams. Yes, with a $4.99 super chat. Independent films and foreign films are like meat and potatoes. Hollywood is more like candy. I would say fast food. Best taken in small doses. I agree. It's all about balance, right? For every lost city you see, go see something else or see a smaller indie movie. Hannibal Grimm says, Mondo! Exclamation point. Yeah, that's a big part of the 24x36 doc, because not only does it get, wait, what is that buzzing? What is the buzzing? Alan, is that your phone?
That's my phone vibrating.
Cool.
I got it.
Cool. I thought I kept hearing it earlier and I thought, are you okay?
Yeah, that's just the phone.
Is there any way to turn it off?
Yeah, no, I just take it away from the mic.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see. TJ Spillane says, I need to see 24x36 too. I heard RMB talk about it before. Yeah, it also gets into the the culture of people who collect movie posters, and I collect movie posters. Can I tell you where I have a whole bunch of my movie posters? Right there. Do you see that lightsaber? That is a poster holder. It is a giant lightsaber. I'm just going to grab this. It's a giant lightsaber. I got this at Star Wars Celebration a couple years ago. It is a giant lightsaber. I mean, you can wield this lightsaber, right? It's huge, but it has like this strap. You strap it to your back, and on the top, it opens up, and it's filled with movie posters. It's filled with movie posters in here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's filled with movie posters. And I think it does extend too. Yeah. So there you go. I don't know. I just put that in the background because I'm still trying to figure out how to, make my space work here. But yeah, I bought when I was at Star Wars Celebration, I bought a bunch of posters and then I had no way to take them home. Like, I actually don't like it. Like, oh, why do I have this poster now? Like, it's going to get ruined. Well, I bought this, and this is a thing to hold your movie posters, and it's a lightsaber. So there you go. All right. Now I got to set that there. Now it's just a complete dark space on the other side. I will fix my room here. So there you go. Don't worry, Endeleas Music. Sorry, I can't super chat. Starving artist here. I get it. I understand. Yeah. Alan, such lack of professionalism. I'm out.
Oh, Gabriel. Sorry.
Alan, just gotta, guess what? I have this thing called airplane mode on my phone, and then do not disturb. It's just do not disturb. You know how it works?
Yeah, no, I put the phone in the wrong spot. Should have been on the ground.
Whatever. It's all good.
Yeah.
So
at least it's not beeping. It's a
TJ Spillane says, what's your favorite poster in your collection? Alan and Chris question. Alan, do you have a favorite poster in your collection?
Honestly, I don't. I used to collect posters. I can't anymore. Where do I put them? And then putting them up. But when I think of movie posters, people may hate this, but I love the Phantom Menace movie poster with little Anakin and the shadow of Darth Vader.
No, I actually really like that poster too. It was the teaser poster for the Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
that's a great. I'd say favorite poster. I'll get to it, but the ones that I really love are the ones that IMAX, when you go to like a special IMAX screening of Inception or whatever. Like usually, if you go in the first week of it, IMAX will you'll get an IMAX version of that movie. A poster of it, and it's something I'm sure the studio rejected because it was too artsy. And I have a bunch of those. I have ones for Guardians of the Galaxy, for Doctor Strange. If you go to like special IMAX screenings, and they'll usually say you get a free poster, so I collect those, and I've got a bunch of them. But one of my favorite movie posters of all time that I have is a poster I got when I was a kid for the original Star Wars. And it's not technically a poster, but it's like a painting of Luke in the cockpit. And it's like right close up, Luke in the cockpit in the Death Star trench, laser blasts are coming after him. And it's just, you're in the world. Yeah. It's not a poster advertising the movie, but that was hung up on my wall forever. And I still have it. And it's not in great shape because there's Scotch tape on the back of it, but I will save a lot of my own.
Best posters sell the story and not sell the people in the movie.
Gabriel says, dude, I don't think saying you like anything about the Phantom Menace nowadays will get you into hot water.
Yeah, thankfully the sequels have made the prequels more palatable.
Well, the prequels also, when you look at especially like, George Lucas really leaned into the politics and people criticized him at the time. And now, like, just because of what's happened the last couple of years, I think people's eyes have been open to how certain aspects of our world work. And it's really exposed and opened a lot of people's eyes. I'm talking around things because I don't know about.
Yeah, we're not political here.
Well, I try to avoid talking about it. Unfortunately, you can't these days. But when you look back at the Phantom Menace, it's a warning about authoritarianism. It's a warning about how a democracy creeps, and it doesn't happen overnight. That's what's interesting about it in the Phantom Menace. It doesn't happen with just one thing happen, right? There's this sort of false flag event that opens. There's a trade and tax issue with the Trade Federation in the Phantom Menace. Then there's this sort of false flag, like terrorist act that escalates things at the beginning of Attack of the Clones. And you see there's a need for a cloned army. So they just get this cloned army. It's really interesting. Go back and watch the prequels now. And like, yes, there's some dumb stuff. I would argue that every Star Wars movie has something that's kind of cute and weird, but they really hold up now, much better than when we first saw them. And we were kind of blindsided by there was too much politics. And now I think like it's one of the best aspects of it. Fletcher Williams says, I got the IMAX Doctor Strange one. It's cool and small. Yeah, those IMAX posters are like, they're tiny, but I love the designs. I love the way that they're like it's just a different interpretation. Fletcher Williams also says, I love the old Raiders of the Lost Ark that I don't have anymore. That's a great one.
Yeah.
That Drew Struzan is the artist that does those, not just that one, but other posters as well. And I love those. Flash Gordon, one of my favorite posters too. the Flash Gordon movie from the 80s. And you know what I love about that poster, Fletcher? It's just Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's the name of the movie. And you've noticed in everything now, in all like the new DVD releases, the Blu-ray release, if you see it, digitally, it's Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that's not the title of the movie. That's
it's
not
like Star Wars. Episode 4 was always Star Wars.
It was just for me always Star Wars. Luke James, fist bump. Thank you, Luke. I'm gonna fist bump. I'm still trying to get it looks dark over here.
Yeah. It's blending in with the shirt.
I gotta figure out what I'm blending into the background. Folks, my apologies. We're gonna get better at the stuff. I think the one thing we want to make sure is the conversation's always good, but I could use some better lighting. And say what you will about the prequels, at least they didn't interrupt the flow of the series. True. And super chat, Berensky, $5. Thank you. Way behind in video, but huge shout out to Vic Mignogna in Star Trek Continues. FYI, Vic's pants in real life are very gay, so no need for new gay Kirk. First of all, I know Vic. I was in an episode of Star Trek Continues. We will have that conversation another time, but there's an episode of Star Trek Continues. I play an alien dissident, and I sort of clock Kirk at the beginning. I'm an alien, and I have like this weird sort of makeup on my face. I did a makeup test. I flew out to Georgia, where they have the sets. I was in freaking heaven touring those sets. I mean, I got chills. Vic is so meticulous with his stuff. He went and found like the same fabric manufacturer for the fabric that they use in McCoy's medical lab. Like he wanted the fabric, he had it specially made so it matched exactly the piping, the color. Like, go and watch, Berensky, and I'm sure you already have, the episodes of Star Trek Continues. What it does is it sort of presupposes an ending to Star Trek. They were supposed to be on a 5-year mission. What happened? And one of the interesting things I remember talking to Vic about, because it's like going to summer camp, right? You're going there, nobody's being paid, right? You're going there for the love of Star Trek. Everybody's there dressed. It's a very professionally put together production. It's done, by the way, for legal reasons. They kind of like, CBS actually really liked Star Trek Continues, but they're like, yeah, you got to wrap it up. You can't. That's a whole other, there should be, and I'm sure there's going to be a documentary about the whole Axanar debacle and that. And it was, it kind of like, because it raised like over $1 million, like it kind of like blew up fan films. But In any case, I'm proud that I was in an episode of Star Trek Continues. Strongly recommend it. And one of the interesting things is that this is something that I think Gene Roddenberry was supposed to do. Sorry, folks, about my voice. Let me grab a little water here. But one of the things is, if you go back and watch the original Star Trek series, go back and watch it. All of the captains of the other starships had different symbols right here. The Enterprise had that symbol that we see, the sort of wavy, that's the symbol you see. But other starships had different symbols right here, right? It was all the United Federation of Planets, but they had different symbols for their starships. Well, what Gene Roddenberry had talked about doing is, and this was going to be explained in Star Trek: The Motion Picture, it ended up not being a part of it, was that these ships, these like 12 or 14 ships, were sent out in the galaxy to map the galaxy, these Constellation class starships, the Enterprise being among them, right? So they all go out and they're basically mapping the galaxy, sending data back to Earth about mapping the galaxy. Well, the way that the 5-year mission was going to end is that the Enterprise would return to Earth and would be the only starship that survived after 5 years. All of those other starships met horrible fates. We saw, in I'm not Robert Meyer Burnett. I don't know the names of the episodes off the top of my head, but it's the Doomsday Machine, which is kind of like George Lucas kind of ripped that for the Death Star, right? It looks like a giant carrot. That's one of the greatest episodes of Star Trek ever. Captain Deckard, his lost his crew. It's the writing in those old series are just so good. But in any case, the idea is that the Enterprise would be the only starship that survived its 5-year mission, returned after completing its mission to map the galaxy. That's actually what they're supposed to be doing out there. So what Starfleet then decided is, because the Enterprise did this, that all of the symbols for all starships would then honor the Enterprise, and in light of the sacrifice of all the other starships, they would all have the same symbol. So now when you see Star Trek after the 5-year mission, they all have the same symbol, right? That became the symbol of the Federation. That was explained to me by Vic. And that was, I guess, I don't know how much of that is, like how much of that is rumor, whatever. But that was explained to me, and Star Trek Continues is an amazing series. And Berensky, thank you for your $5 super chat and allowing me to go off on a rant. Fletcher Williams, the Flash Gordon poster is so sweet. Absolutely. Hannibal Grimm says, Chris, I need to show you a movie troll I did to a buddy a while back. Got a buddy excited by giving him a digital copy code of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That movie's so terrible. Oh,
I have yet to watch it.
I wish they never made it.
I know. I think that's what I'm doing. I'm not going to watch it because I don't want it to exist in my mind.
I fell asleep at that movie. I went to see it, and it was at the ArcLight. And I remember at the time we were like hanging out in the bar, and maybe I had too many, and I should have had fewer. And I fell asleep at one point. I just really am. I think I saw it. So I have actually not seen the whole movie. I saw it in the theater once, and for about 20 minutes, I was asleep.
Yeah. I just remember the Comic-Con buzz was amazing when
and TJ Spillane says, Chris, have you started The Long Halloween yet? No, I have not, but it's sitting right here on my desk. I've got it. Here it is. There it is. The Long Halloween. Thank you for the reminder. I may not get to it this weekend because I'm doing a whole project. I'm trying to fix this room so it's not so dark on this side, and figure out my lighting. So there you go.
You just need some backlighting behind you.
I'll send it to you on Instagram, brother. Cool. Yeah. You can DM me. You can DM me on Instagram, but also the best way to contact us. I'm going to throw it up so that everyone can see. It's very simple. If you want to contact Alan and I for any reason, whatever, maybe you're a filmmaker that wants to be on the podcast, or you're a filmmaker who wants their movie reviewed, here is where you can contact us. Just go to filmthreat.com/contact. You fill out a little form, boom. Alan and I both get the email. You can, whoever you want to talk to, and let us know if you'd like to chat with us for any reason. We are going to be wrapping it up here quick because Alan and I, we do a weekly meeting with the film threat folks, called Jedi Council. We just call it Jedi Council. So there you go. But
I'm the one with
yes,
the long neck. And this
Internet Rec Room says, isn't Indiana Jones 5 coming out? Uh-oh. First of all, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear that. It looks terrible. And I watched a video. Who was it? One of the guys I watched, like a Yellow Flash or one of those, did a video. That's why I'm always feel bad. Like I'll see it on YouTube, and since I watch so many, I pretty much when I'm working, I will have like YouTube podcasts like playing in the background while I'm working. So sometimes I forget where I heard things, but I heard a rough synopsis of the plot for the Indiana Jones 5, and it sounds awful. It sounds awful. I don't have faith in Kathleen Kennedy based on how you see the legacy characters for Star Wars were treated. So my faith in her is zero. That was the biggest missed opportunity in movie history. We've talked about it at length. You knew Star Wars was going to come up, Alan. You knew it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Indiana Jones is going to meet the same fate as Han Solo in Force Awakens.
Yeah, it sounds awful. I did hear that they did, and correct me if I'm wrong. I hear that they wrapped shooting of it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Fletcher Williams says there is a Long Halloween as an animated film too. Yes, I think it's on HBO Max. HBO Max, I've sort of, first of all, I hate their interface. I think it's awful. I think Netflix probably has the best one, although I kind of like turn off the sound because I don't like getting like sound every time I go on just let me, I can choose on my own. Gabriel says, oh man, Kathleen is going to direct it. No, she's producing it. And I forget the name of the director, but there you go. And Graham Robbins
directing, isn't he?
Graham Robbins says, hey, my first super chat ever. Keep it up, Chris and Alan. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham.
We appreciate that, Graham. Yes. Yes, shooting is wrapped. Eligibility, says Ryoko. Thank you for that. He'll most likely be gender swapped by the end, or he will be supplanted and shamed for his masculinity. And you know what I mean? Like we've seen how these things go, and I don't like it. I don't know. I think that there's maybe, you can introduce new characters without making your legacy characters. You don't have to diminish the legacy characters to make new characters. And that seems to be what's always done. Like you want to diminish the legacy. Nobody likes that. No one likes it. It's insulting. It's insulting to the legacy of the characters. And yeah, so yeah.
Well, the big news is, I guess James Mangold is directing it.
Yeah, I'd heard that. So it could, we'll see. Pierce Bronson, hate the sound on Netflix. Clips coming on while you browse. Yeah, I wish there was a way to turn. I don't want to see a clip while I'm browsing. I just want to browse. I will actually read a 2-sentence synopsis.
Yeah.
I don't need I'm getting like 10 seconds. So I always mute it and then I go through Netflix. That should be if there's an option to change that, I would love that. Gabriel, yeah, at this point, agenda is well known. It's always the same tactic. It's the same tactic until people stop going to the movies. It's the same tactic, I think, until people are just like fed up, and just done. So there you go. We got to wrap this up, unfortunately. TJ, we're going to get to a couple more and then we got to take off here. But TJ Splaining says, are you guys excited for the unbearable weight of massive talent? Every time I think we've reached peak Nick Cage, we get something weird or even from him. Yeah, I can't wait. That trailer looks weird. I love Nick Cage movies, even like Willy's Wonderland, which we did a watch party with the director and the filmmakers. Just look up Willy's Wonderland on the channel. I interviewed the director, and then we did a watch party for Willy's Wonderland. We tried to get Nick Cage. I'm serious. We actually tried, and he just turned. He doesn't
like the internet.
He doesn't do a lot of press. And I interviewed him once when I was at G4 and I forget the name of the movie, but it was forgettable. But Nick Cage is always good because he's a guy, not like Bruce Willis, who's phoning it into all these movies he's appearing in. Nick Cage just like like he just goes for it no matter what the premise is. And I love that Willy's Wonderland has like he has no dialogue in the movie. Like I'm sure that was like a choice that he made. Like I don't know. I just love that Nick Cage is like, yeah, I'm going to be in this small movie and I'm going to fucking act the shit out of it. Like the passion, like that's why I think that he's so well respected. And Mandy, I think, is one of the best things he's done in years. I have the digital copy of that. I got the soundtrack. Like, I don't know. I really love Mandy. So check that out.
He did an interview recently about why he had been doing so many indie films because of basically tax debt. And
yeah, I heard about that.
Feelings about Disney as well.
Well, there's a movie that's being developed right now from a script, and it's about isn't it about a heist and Nick Cage copies of Action Comics #1 it's a bunch of nerds who try to go to Nick Cage mansion to pull a heist and steal Action Comics #1. I think that's the story. Anyways, Selena Sora says, I think there is a way to update a legacy character to today and not to destroy them completely. 007 was done pretty good. Not perfect, but not leaving a bad taste in your mouth. I agree. And I like the 007 name doesn't even matter. It's like, I'm James fucking Bond.
Yeah.
Right. And he kind of schools her and puts her in her place. Whereas you thought the way that they were doing the marketing, you thought that the reverse was going to happen, that it's like, I don't like when they do that. Stop marketing movies like that. We were talking about this the other day. Had they marketed the Batman as like, well, it's really Catwoman's origin story. If they had said that in the marketing, the messaging is really important. And it is, Catwoman's origin story is part of the Batman. But if they had said that this movie's not about the Batman, it's about the origin of Catwoman, we would have been like, well, fuck that movie. Don't call it the Batman. I mean,
or if it had been a Batman Catwoman story.
Right.
Just a Batman story.
Oh, well, I mean, actually, it is kind of a Batman Catwoman story, which is actually perfectly. Yeah.
But she's definitely a supporting role in the movie.
Right, but she's a great part of the movie. Zoe Kravitz, like, great. There you go. Turo says Alan is so focused. I don't know. He generally is. In reference to Nick Cage, Gabriel says his acting craziness is just his natural talent. And $5 super chat from Robert Lewis. Thank you so much. Had a short story rejected by a literary magazine. It's a bummer, but I sent it to another. Still a blow to my confidence, though. Robert, that's fine. Rejection is part of the game. I'm going to recommend two things for you. One, a documentary called Rhino Skin. I saw it like 20 years ago. But this document, if you can find it, sometimes it played on like Sundance Channel or whatnot. But Rhino Skin is about, and Rhino Skin is a term among actors. Like, in order to be an actor in Hollywood, you have to have rhino skin because it's all about getting rejected constantly for parts. So I recommend that documentary to give you inspiration. The second thing I recommend that you get is you can either get the book or you can get the audiobook. I actually have the audiobook and I bought it on CD like 20 plus years ago. It's Stephen King. It's a book called On Writing. And there are no stories in the book. It's just Stephen King talking about his writing career and all of his writing advice. And it's the best book I've ever read about writing. You don't need to take a course or go to college to learn about writing. You need this book, and then you need to write every day. So, Robert Lewis, message me on Film Threat through our contact, and I'll send you an essay I wrote about how to write a book that talks to you about. I'm just telling you these little tricks of like basically creating good habits. You're not going to learn anything about how to write a narrative novel, but it's more about like creating a process that works for you and having good habits, like a personal trainer if you go to a gym. But that Stephen King book On Writing is absolutely brilliant, inspired me. He talks about like all of his failures. Stephen King talks about like he wrote for magazines when he was 14 years old. He was sending stuff to different magazines and he got a lot of rejection, but then it's just like that. He just kept doing it. He was relentless. So there you go. Unfortunately, we got to wrap it up. Thank you, Robert Lewis, for your comment. You said haven't read it all. Bought it on Audible yesterday. Awesome. That's great. So love it. So Turo says, Chris reads almost every one of my chats except my super chat. Classic Chris.
What?
Wait, where was your super
Did
chat?
we miss the super chat?
Did we miss a super chat? Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Turo. Did you have a super chat earlier and I missed it? I don't know how this works.
Tell you what, to make up for it, we'll only read your super chats. That's
No. Turo, did you? No, wait, here it is. I found it. Here's a gallon of gas for the Christmas meal. Thank you, Turo. Oh my God. You know, guess what? That's not enough it's not enough for a gallon.
Yeah, it's not enough for a gallon. Sorry.
It's over six. It's like I think I paid over $6 the other day. Oh my God.
I just paid $90 for my last tank of gas.
Oh my God. No, it's the worst. I've sort of like done this thing now. Like, this is just advice for all of you. I do have a credit card that I get 3% off if I go to an Exxon Mobil, and I'm not like recommending, I'm just saying like I get 3% cash back. So I'm literally looking at the gas and it's like, oh, that's like almost 20 cents off, right, per gallon. So I'm already saving that. And then I use this app. It's the Exxon Mobil app, and I get reward points, and each, you know, you get a point like per dollar spent or something. And I've already saved like $15. So you just apply that during the app. You use the app actually to activate the pump. Why am I telling you this? This is a movie podcast. Why am I telling you this? But Turo, thanks a lot. I'll have to post some pics. I'm still adding like Batman stuff to my car. Once I kind of have it where I feel like it's, you know, it's set, I'll show everybody what I did to my vehicle. I just add everything Batman you could, but it's all tastefully done that I don't look. And I did that to my last car.
It doesn't stand out if you drive.
Yeah.
If it drives by you.
Gabriel says, and you used to pay $3 per week on gas. Yeah, it was like $3 to fill up my gas tank for my Triumph motorcycle. And gas was about $1 back then, 99 cents, something like that. And I thought that was expensive. You know, California, gas is over $1. Like, because I moved from the Midwest. So there you go. It's enough. Geek Truth 64 says it's enough for a gallon if you weren't in post-apocalyptic LA. And there you go. So we're going to leave it there. I'm so sorry. I really want to like chat with everybody more. We appreciate you. We are Film Threat. Go to filmthreat.com. Follow us. We're at Film Threat on everything. My name is Chris Gore.
Hey, by the way, sorry. Should we talk about WonderCon real fast?
We could talk about it next week.
Okay.
But I was on a roll there, Alan.
I'm sorry.
And you can follow me personally at that Chris Gore on everything. I don't post a lot on Twitter because I think it's a horrible place, but I try to, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing on Twitter. I'm just having fun. But my Instagram, I also barely post there. But Film Threat, you can follow us on Film Threat and everything. Alan, where can people follow you?
Yes, I'm on Twitter at mypal.al. I'm on TikTok at Arthur Farty, and I'm on Instagram as Film Threat Alan. No, I'm not able to combine and get a single username.
Arthur Farty. All right, fine. There is a Film Threat TikTok. We posted a couple of weird videos on there. So check out the Film Threat TikTok in your spare time. And a week from today, April 1st, a week from today, we are going to be at WonderCon, 5 p.m. We have a panel that will be presenting footage from Attack of the Dock that's never been seen. I think you're going to love it. I can't wait to show you what we have in store for you. Alan will be moderating that panel. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk G4. We're going to show you scenes from the documentary. And then after our panel, we're going to be going to one of the hotel bars, either the Marriott or the Hilton. I'm not sure yet. And we're going to be hanging out. So if you would like to join us for an impromptu Film Threat meetup at WonderCon, we're going to be there a week from today in Anaheim, California. You can get information probably by Googling WonderCon. And that's where we're going to leave it. Alan, take us out.
Let's get out of here.
Wait, I got to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show our little ending video. I'm going to show our ending video. Can you try that again?
Okay, let's get out of here.